what's up, bro? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's
All
up,
right,
man?
perfect. You got the whole background set up, which I
Yeah,
love it.
I got the Patriots. I got the Brady jersey over there.
I have the plain background. I wonder if I can hold on. I think I could change it because like maybe I can't. I forget. Because what happened was my wife and the twins are in the other room, and
Yeah.
I don't want to like go crazy. Let's see. Oh yeah, right here. Hold on. I bet I can do something cool.
Ooh, I like that. Right
I
the way.
I yeah. I just was like, it kind of looks weird though, but I'd rather just have something plain.
Fair enough. No, man, I
I was
got
just
my
looking.
custom jersey too.
Oh, you do? Oh, that's
Yeah.
sick. All right, let me just. All right.
When I first
Well,
got this, literally the first year Danny Etling got drafted as number 5.
so I have a funny story about him too. We'll
Mm.
talk about that. Like, bring that up, and I'm gonna mention something because like I end up like meeting him during that season. They won the Super Bowl. It'd be funny.
No, bring it up now. We're on the topic of Danny Etling. You may as well talk about it
Oh,
now.
you're recording. I didn't even know you were recording
No,
already.
it starts the recording automatically.
Oh, all right, all right.
I
So yeah,
can trim it and yeah.
yeah.
Danny
So
Etling, sorry, go.
so Danny Etling, yeah. So I was fortunate enough. Obviously, the Super Bowl 53 thing
Yeah.
happened. I went down there and I was at the after party for the Patriots.
Yeah.
And I just remember Danny Etling, dude. Like the joke was like how he had that huge run against the Giants in the
Yeah.
preseason, and everyone's like, "Oh, he could be the successor to Tom Brady." That guy was so drunk that night when they won the Super Bowl, and he was yelling, "I'm a Super Bowl champion! I'm a Super Bowl champion!" Like just hugging everybody. It was like the only time I met him. And then like the next year they got rid of him, ended up getting cut, and he got picked up. I think he went to Atlanta or whatever, got picked up over there. So
And then there was all this hype about him possibly being like a receiver and stuff. But I
yeah, I
haven't.
think they were trying to basically see if he can slide over to a different position, but it just didn't work out. And what round was he anyways? Like sixth round, like seventh round?
Sixth,
Yeah,
fifth, something like that.
yeah. Like there was obviously more hype with Jarrett Stidham, and
Yeah.
me doing the whole Stidham stiffy. First of all, like I love to play the polar opposite of whatever. If you say the sky's blue, I'm gonna argue why it's red. Like I'm just that type of person that's gonna do it. But I do know that Stidham was see the thing with Brady last year, and this is my personal opinion. When they were in preseason, they were cutting. They had 3 quarterbacks. It was
Yeah.
Brady, Stidham, and Hoyer,
Yeah.
and they were going to cut one because at that time they needed an extra roster spot for somebody. And if people that had been following me from last year know that I was a huge Hoyer guy, and I said
Mm,
I wanted Stidham not cut, but I was hoping that he'd reach the practice squad.
yeah.
And at the time at Ride the Wave, our guy Dan Shea, who's on the 2-minute drill, was like, if he gets cut, he's gonna get picked up by another team. Like another
Mm,
team's gonna want
yeah.
Stidham. So they had to carry him. And then people are like, oh, you root for Stidham, but you hated him last year. It's not that I hated him. I wanted Brian Hoyer to be Brady's backup last year because I knew it was Brady's last year.
Mm,
And I knew that Brady trusted Brian Hoyer, that if he was to make a mistake out there, he could go to Brian Hoyer and say, hey, what did I do wrong? Because he
yeah.
trusts Brian Hoyer's IQ. Brian Hoyer's IQ for football is one of the top in the game. And there's a reason why they brought him back in for a third stint in New England.
Yeah.
And I always tell people this: Brady was never mentoring whoever was going to end up being his next guy. He never, you could say he mentored Jimmy G in a way or Jacoby
Mm,
Brissett, but not more mentoring him. It's just that those two are mimicking what Brady does. They're
yeah.
just learning like through the process. With Jarrett Stidham, I think the Patriots drafted Jarrett Stidham to be the replacement of Tom Brady, and Tom Brady didn't like it. And we saw that
Mhm.
last year's preseason, how he reacted to Hoyer's touchdown, didn't really react to Stidham's touchdown. And now look at what they did. They brought Hoyer back in to mentor Stidham. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, this kid, was out there in March. He, like before COVID really started hitting in the United States, he was out there in March practicing at Gillette Stadium. He did everything right. They went to the draft. They didn't draft a quarterback. And at that time, I said it, and it's on the Instagram, both James Winston and Cam Newton were still available. So I'm
Mhm.
sure there was already preliminary talks between the Patriots and Cam Newton. Like, we're going to wait and see. And I do think that Stidham, I don't want to blame him, but I do think he shot himself in the foot for some of his social media posts. He ended up going down, like partying during like some of the offseason while Tom Brady's down in Tampa working his ass off. And him going to Texas, man, the timing's weird. Of him going to Texas, a lot of people don't know that his wife's father, so his father-in-law, is the CEO of the Houston Rockets. So if you're told, hey, we're doing a family reunion, you're going to get your ass down there, because I think your father-in-law, who's the CEO of the Houston Rockets, and especially from them being in the Texas area, that means importance to them. But at the vice versa, Bill Belichick doesn't give a shit. Do you know how much sacrifice of his family he's done over the game over the last 50, 60 years? And the same thing with Tom Brady over 20 years is the sacrifices of his family for the game.
Yeah.
That's what he wants, the commitment. The second they signed Cam Newton, Stidham got his ass right back up to Massachusetts, started doing these like little practices off to the side. And I'm telling everybody that Stidham was poised to be the starter week 1. And even when we were watching it during their OTAs, quote unquote, preseason, quote unquote, Stidham looked like the better quarterback.
Mhm.
And I say, because a lot of people say a lot of people like, you're a Cam Newton hater. You don't want to support a black quarterback. It's all bullshit, dude. If you listen to what I said, I was like, Stidham starts the first 2 weeks
Yeah.
because they need to get film on him. They have no preseason because they need to see how he's developed over 1 year's time. And then Cam Newton would probably slide in week 3 or 4 because Cam Newton came in so late. They want to give him extra time. If Stidham played in that Seattle game that we're just coming off of, they would have lost that game 35-3. There'd be absolutely no way Stidham would have won that game. And that's why I said Cam Newton would end up taking over week 3. It's actually better off long-term or, well, short-term in this year that Stidham got hurt. Not saying that, it sucks that injuries happen. He tore his groin. Like, it's a grade 1 tear. But it's better because in August 20th, 21st, that's when Cam Newton's like, dude, there's no more quarterback competition. It's like, it's going to be you. And that's when the locker room really accepted him. And they needed that going into the season. You saw that week 1 and you saw it week 2. We'll see what ends up happening this week. I mean, it's going to be a tough test for the Raiders, but everyone's starting to buy into Cam Newton. I've always bought into Cam Newton. Can Cam Newton last a full season? Can he be his former self? Everyone thinks he's automatically going to be 2015 Cam Newton. What happens if he keeps running the ball like this way, keeps taking these hits? Is he going to last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks? And I'm not being negative Nancy over here. It's just like, pump the brakes. It's already week 2 and people want him to have a 3-year contract extension. We're like, pump the brakes for a second. But
I think Cam Newton, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I think Josh McDaniels, of course, everyone would enjoy playing with Tom Brady. But I think Cam Newton gives him more of a variety with play type.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, we saw it back when Jimmy Garoppolo in 2016 had to start for the Patriots. Those first 4 games, they were without Brady. So it was the first time Josh McDaniels in the Patriots. It's kind of like, hey, we don't have that quarterback except for the 2008. But like, hey, we can, we have to have a replacement here. And the play style of, I think someone had it, and I saw the video. I think it was week 1. Like, it was very similar to Jacoby Brissett's rushing touchdown in week 2 or week 3 or whatever, in the 2016 season. And you can see that Josh McDaniels, I mean, he was the guy who drafted Tim Tebow. Like you said, like, this guy, like, has now a mobile quarterback. And what we saw in Cam Newton these last 2 weeks, especially in the Seattle game, and is he has the ability to scramble around in the pocket, bend down, get up, get out, and extend plays, where Tom Brady would just go down like a sack of potatoes if he gets touched or blown on. And that's no discredit to Tom Brady. That's no slander to Tom Brady. It's because he's 40 years old and he wants to protect his body and well-being to play. He wants to play till he's 50. Like, he wants to be that kind of guy that keeps playing and playing and playing. So he's protecting his body. Whereas Cam Newton at 31 is not thinking, I'm not playing the game till I'm 40. Like, I'm playing the game until like I'm hurt again, or I'm like 35, 36. And we'll see what happens from there. I look at that Seattle game too. A lot of people are blaming Josh McDaniels. They're like, what kind of play call was that? Cam Newton on the 1. Everyone knew he was going to run. Guys, I say it's week 2. You don't show everything out there. yes, it would have been so nice to beat Seattle, but Kansas City and Baltimore on your schedule this year are so much more important games because if you can win at least against one or both of those teams, you have the tiebreaker over them. And I think that's the most important part, especially when it comes into only one team gets the bye week this year because they extended it to 7 teams in the playoffs. So if you're the second team, you're not getting a bye. The Patriots need to think about that long term. So um, I think I feel more confident now going to Kansas City, and I feel like McDaniels will have different plays developed ready to go for Cam Newton.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could beat the Chiefs. Yes, they have Chris Jones, but really, what else do they have on their line? Cam Newton can run past them, and we have good enough receivers. I know Edelman can make the short passes.
I know we're getting ahead of here with the
Yeah.
Kansas City game, but do you want to see the Patriots make any sort of move right now in offense? Like, because of that game and Cam Newton throwing almost 400 yards, do you feel like they're going to need another wide receiver?
I mean, what I've been noticing is our receivers are struggling to make separation. Edelman is obviously, he's Edelman, right? And then we have N'Keal Harry. Jacoby Myers is only so. He needs to develop. But then what other options do we have? We need someone. I mean, you've been talking about it, OBJ, right? I don't see that happening. I would love it to happen, but I mean, I don't know who we could get. Maybe D.D. Westbrook could pop available. D.D. is very, very good from the Jaguars.
It's one of those things that we've been talking about, shout out Boston's Big Three podcast. We talk about it over there and say, like, I want Odell, right? Like, I want Odell Beckham. Obviously, it's a pipe dream. We'll see what happens as the weeks progress. But Cam Newton is not on your team long term. If you sign Odell Beckham, he's on your team long term. Now, someone brought up the like Brandon Cook situation. I mean, we got Brandon Cooks in, and then we got rid of him right away, and you still kind of got back what you gave for him. I think with an Odell, if you get him in there, he's not leaving. But if Cam Newton leaves and you're kind of with Odell, I don't think the chemistry with like a Stidham and Odell would work out. I know it would work instantly with Cam Newton and Odell.
Yeah.
I think that if you can extend Cam Newton in right now, which it's dumb to do it, but if you extend Cam Newton, then maybe you go get an Odell. It's tough decision. I think you have to get a 1-year rental type of guy because you don't know what this team's going to be next year. I know Cam Newton came out recently and said, "I'm not in it for the money," and it's like that's a bullshit quote. Excuse my language, but like every player's in it for the money.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. Brady's in it for the money. Brady's always been in it for the money. And the way Belichick has done the cap room has been pushing things back, so it's always back-ended. I mean, the Patriots are paying Tom Brady this year, even if he's not on the team. They had dead cap. They had to pay $13 million or whatever it was. They keep pushing the money back, and he wanted to go get paid. He went down to Tampa, and that's what it is. If someone, and I think it's for Cam Newton's sake, I think it's going to come down to guaranteed money. That's a different debate. But for a wide receiver, like, I want the Odell because I just know it's an instant impact player. The rumors are of Marvin Jones Jr. He's on his final year with the Detroit Lions. The Lions probably are going to go 0-3. They're playing the Cardinals this week.
Yeah, Cardinals look good.
And then for Matt Patricia, with the connection already with Bill Belichick, and those teams have worked out deals in the past, and it's pretty much the Detroit Patriots. There's a connection there. I'm afraid that if Mohamed Sanu didn't work out for you guys, who the hell can you really bring in and trust that's going to make an instant impact? That's why I want more of a star player. And a lot of people are talking about Allen Robinson and trying to go pick him up. I'm not a believer in Allen Robinson. Go prove me wrong. I just don't think that he's going to be able to pick up the playbook in time, and I don't think he's going to be able to handle, the chemistry that this team already building. It's hard to bring a receiver in middle of the season that can just make an instant impact. If Belichick's going to do it, luckily they have an early bye. You got to do it right around that bye time. But I think it's like a week 6 bye I think it's week 5. It's I have it right here on my phone, but it's like a week 6 bye. Yeah. So by week 6, you have 3 games left right now. You're 1-1. Hopefully you have 1 loss and you're 4-1 heading into the bye. Maybe you're 3-2. That's when you have to pull the trigger and say, we need something extra. And they need linebackers too. They need a little extra something to go on.
Especially with Hightower opting out.
That Seattle game, Hightower was needed in that game. Like, just to have a veteran guy, Jawan Bentley, like, I love him. Like, I've hyped him up last year. And I think he's going to be something special down the line. So obviously a reason why he's the captain this year.
Yeah.
But he looked lost out there. It looked like just a lost puppy running in circles sometimes.
How do you think the Patriots will play in the Raiders game?
So the news reports today is Friday, the 25th, and it's been coming out that David Andrews has like a broken thumb. He had surgery this past week on his knuckle, and it's most likely he might not play this week.
Yeah.
Could be a little Patriots thing to throw off the Raiders, and then he just plays anyways. Not having David Andrews really affects the run game for the Patriots. It affects Cam Newton.
Yeah.
The Raiders look legitimate. I mean, they're 2-0. I mean, they beat up on – I think they played the Panthers week 1. The Panthers are so-so. They beat the Saints without a Michael Thomas on offense, but they play a hell of a game. And I know Gruden coming into New England and getting a victory, I mean, that shows how legitimate the Raiders can be this year. And it's still September football. It's still, in my mind, it's still preseason football. But, man, to be 1-2, just like they were a couple of years ago, and then you have to head into Kansas City. If you start 1-3, it's not looking good for the Patriots to have those 3 losses. I mean, they can go on a run, don't get me wrong, but you still have some tough teams later on in the season. It's funny to see for the first time in a long time, the Patriots coming off a loss in Seattle, and fans are actually buying into the team after a loss, like, instead of giving up, because they saw how much heart and grit they had. It could easily end pretty quick if they lose to the Raiders, then lose to the Kansas City Chiefs and have a 3-game losing streak. I think the Raiders are going to carve this. This is a big test for the defense because they got burnt, and that's Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's great. Russell Wilson's an MVP this year. He's going to do it. I picked Seattle Seahawks to win the Super Bowl this year. I've been very adamant about the Seahawks going to the Super Bowl. I think that between what's their tight end, Willard or Wallard or whatever his name is, and then Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr was an MVP candidate years ago before he broke his leg.
Broke his both the bones in his
tibia or whatever. He just broke, and he was an MVP candidate that year.
Yeah.
Derek Carr looks great, and I like John Gruden. I think there's a reason why they gave Gruden a 10-year contract. People think it's insane, but you have to give Gruden some time. Look at how he's been developing that team. I also am very interested, too, this week to watch Jonathan Abram. If anybody watched the Hard Knocks a couple of years ago when he was a rookie, I think it was last year. I think they were on Hard Knocks because it was the Antonio Brown year.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting hurt, I believe, in preseason. And he's number 24. You keep an eye on him. I want to watch how I think he has an interception this week. I like that young kid because he's mouthy. He's in your face. And I think he's the next up-and-coming great corner in the league, Jonathan Abram. So I'm interested to watch him and see what he does this game. So this ain't going to be an easy test for the Patriots. If you are a degenerate gambler like me, the Patriots are favored 5.5 points. I don't even think they touch it. I think it's a 3-point game. Yeah. But this is a great test for the defense. I mean, Gilmore, you got to bounce back. The defense has to bounce back. This is one of those games, too, where it's you need fans in the stands to have that extra adrenaline in you. And there's real no home field advantage this year for any side, road or away. I know there's some fans that are in the stadiums. It's still not the same having a full jam-packed stadium. I'm not that I'm nervous about the Raiders. They should handle their business. It's the New England Patriots. They should outcoach John Gruden. They should have game plans ready to go. I mean, this is a must-win. These games are must-win. They can't lose to the Raiders than head into Kansas City the next week. Yeah. I'd rather be 2-2 heading into the Denver game than 1-3. You should be Denver should be easy. That's an easy win. You can't lose these next 2 games in a row.
I think Cortland Sutton's out. Drew Lock is out. I think a couple others. Jerry Jeudy's out, I think.
Yeah, and Von Miller to start the season was already out. So it's they have nothing going on for that team. That's an easy win, especially when you're at home.
Now? Who's their quarterback?
I forget his name, the backup or whatever. I forget his name. Let me look it up for you. Because, I actually was looking into it. I think because this is the thing. We'll talk a little Tom Brady right now.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is going to play in Denver. Tom Brady's always struggled in Denver. And I think that the Tampa Bay Bucks, although I'll shit on the Bucks, I'm never supporting Tampa Bay Bucks. I support Tom Brady. I hope he has a good season. Just letting everyone know, Tom Brady's not playing like a good quarterback. He's just playing like an average game manager quarterback. When you look at the Broncos, I mean, this is a team they had. It's Jeff Driscoll is the name. This is the quarterback
Oh
for the
yeah,
Broncos this week. This is a game where the Tampa Bay Bucks should absolutely beat the crap out of the Denver
yeah,
Broncos.
I
Absolutely
agree.
100% beat them. And this should motivate Tom Brady and this team to get back on track. Their schedule loosens up pretty much during the season. But yeah, you're going to have Jeff Driscoll come into New England, and with like no real help around him, you should be able to beat him. So
Yeah. No, it's funny. So I live in Germany, and obviously everyone here is like bandwagon fans, and everyone hopped on the Patriots bandwagon.
well, you know what I like the Germany Patriots thing because it's kind of like the Patriots, the New York Yankees for
Yeah.
baseball. I mean, they win all those world championships, and as football is progressing
Hmm.
overseas, over in Europe, and shout out for you to do this. You know, like I like the international stuff. That's what's cool about this is working together. I know that they had NFL Europe at one point in the early 2000s, like as like a backup league for some of these guys who get cut, and that didn't work out. Then they came overseas to do these like international games, and this is pre-COVID. Now everything's going to get backed up for quite a while,
Yeah.
but there was rumors of having the first NFL game in Germany, and it was
Yeah.
going to be the New England Patriots because they have the biggest fan
I,
base in
I was
Germany.
I was gonna try and go, but
Yeah, like they were saying because Jacob Johnson, right? Like
hmm,
Jacob Johnson, German
yeah,
himself. Like there was talks. I saw it on like NFL Deutschland. Like
yeah,
it said that they were Robert Kraft said within the next 2 years there will be an NFL game and the Patriots are going to be playing overseas there. You know how they've been doing these like international games, like they play in Mexico and then they play
yeah,
like in London. Like they were going to do Germany. Now with COVID, everything's backed up. So like I don't even know when that would end up happening. The international games. Um, but the fan base, it's kind of crazy, you know. Let me say this. You're obviously a big Patriots fan.
yeah.
You fell in love with Tom Brady, but you're falling in love with some of the other players in the Patriots. How do you feel that Tom Brady went to Tampa?
I
Like,
mean, it felt like Tom Brady like grabbed my heart and stomped on it. You know, like leaving like that to another team hurts bad. I've been a Patriots fan since 2012 when I got into football. So I mean, I grew up watching Tom Brady really. So it's hard to see Tom Brady in a Bucks uniform, but
I
you know,
think it's almost different for, like, see, it's like we said this, like, if you're from, like, I'm from Massachusetts, right?
yeah,
Like if you're from New England, like you live in New England, or you were born and raised in the area of New England and you grew up a football fan, you stick with the Patriots.
yeah,
If you're a fan like yourself, and there's plenty of fans, I'm not going to call you a bandwagoner because you're younger. Like when you're younger and you start getting into a game, you're going to pick a team. I mean, I got somebody that lived in Dorchester over here, and he grew up a Colts fan because that's just the team he grew up to like. Like that's just what it is. And he's stuck with them. So the thing is, like for someone like you, I have zero problems if you buy Tampa Bay Bucks jerseys
no,
because you're supporting Tom Brady. But I'm just saying, like, there's fans out there that are like that. I have no problem with that.
no,
You're
I
gonna
mean,
follow Tom Brady's journey, but you're sticking with the New England Patriots
yeah,
because that's the team you grew up on. Like
I
that's
mean,
the team that you supported.
my grandma's from Massachusetts. She lives in
Oh, so you got
Plymouth.
some little hot, you get some
So
little
no, she
blood
and
there.
her husband got me into football.
Yep.
So I just picked their team, you know, before realizing they were the greatest team.
I know you make your excuses. That's okay. You know, so it's no, just. I mean, like when you're it's just like LeBron. Like
Mm,
LeBron's in Cleveland. When he went to the Heat, everyone goes down to Miami. Then once he leaves and goes back to Cleveland, everyone's a Cavs fan again. When he
yeah,
goes to the Lakers, everyone's a Lakers fan. It happens with these big star athletes, and that's what happened with Tom Brady. But and I have said it, Tom versus time, and Tom won. And it just got to a
hmm,
point where it's like, dude, like if you can if Tom Brady was on the New England Patriots this year, this team would absolutely be garbage. Like,
yeah,
like if Tom Brady played in that game against Seattle, there's zero chance that guy's making the comebacks. He's doing all check down passes. He's
yeah,
not going to have the right team around him. Tom Brady wants to win now, and Pats didn't have the cap space. It just didn't work out. I have no hate for Brady leaving.
same.
He put his
But
20 years in. What he can do whatever the hell he wants to do. So, um,
I was
I just
actually
never.
more hurt by like Gronk leaving. That just like that was a big thing.
I see. Rob Gronkowski is
Yeah,
all about money. Rob Gronkowski is all about his name brand, and it's not
yeah,
just on Roberto himself. It's the family. That's how the family is.
yeah,
Um, Rob, like, and again, these players don't owe anybody anything, but I think the way Rob Gronkowski handled his business was unprofessional.
Mm,
Yes, behind closed doors, it came out that he was trying to get trade. They were possibly going to trade him over to the Detroit Lions. And I'm sure that the relationship between Belichick hates having any sort of media to find out any sort of information. And there was times where, like, I remember there was like a joint press release about Gronk's injury, and it was like the Gronkowski family and Rob. And I'm sure that Rob does all his partying stuff, and Belichick doesn't care as long as you come and play football. But I'm
yeah.
sure there's been times where they butted heads. I just think that Rob Gronkowski sat out for that. You know, his body. I mean, he put his life on the line, and
Yeah,
I get it.
definitely.
He's like, you know what? That's it. He was contemplating retirement. He played that game one year, which was after Super Bowl 52, and he played that game all off season. And I'm sure Belichick fucking hated it. And then all of a sudden, he ended up coming in playing the Super Bowl 53 year,
Yeah.
which was huge in him in the Super Bowl to get us that first down, to get us on the goal line to score the only offensive touchdown, Sony
Mm,
Michel. And then he retired, and that was it. But the way that he did it and kept teasing all of last year, I'm
yeah.
going to come back. I'm going to come back. I have a big announcement. Guess what? I'm doing CBD. I have a big announcement. Guess what? We're doing Gronk Beach Party. He kept just teasing and playing with the fans. Marketing wise, it's genius. But as a fan, spending money to go to games, defending Gronkowski's name all the time,
Mm,
spending money on his jerseys and his memorabilia and merchandise,
yeah.
only for him to take the year off to heal his body just to play wherever Tom Brady goes. It's kind of like sticking a huge middle finger up to the entire Patriots fan
Exactly.
base.
Yeah.
Again, he doesn't owe us anything, but this is why the reason why I say they're called professional athletes. It's about being professional to those who are loyal and supportive to you.
Mm,
And even if you just said, hey, I need, be honest. Hey guys, you might not like this, but I just need a year off and we'll see where my head's at this time.
yeah.
And then stay silent. Don't tease the fan base about making a comeback, especially when you know last year when they had Antonio Brown, if they had him the whole year, they were winning the Super Bowl. There
Yeah.
was unstoppable offense, and you knew that they needed that one extra piece, and it would have been Rob Gronkowski, and you felt that Rob Gronkowski could have came into the league and he could have helped them out for that playoff run. And I mean, look at him the first two games. He hasn't really done anything, but he's a pass blocker now. He helps with
Yeah.
that O-line, and that's what was great with Rob Gronkowski in the later of his career in New England, is being more of a pass blocker and not the ultimate man beast catching touchdowns and getting all these first downs. It's why I was very upset about it. And I've learned through it too. Like, I used to be called Young Gronk, like, as
Mm,
my Instagram handle, because I back a little bit when I was skinnier, Babz. And one of the Nesson reporters called me Young Gronk. Like, she's like, you look just like him. This was coming off their loss to the Denver Broncos in AFC title game. And I ran with it on Instagram.
yeah.
Once
The
my
Spike King.
Instagram, and I'm the Spike King, because it was with the Young Gronk thing. It was like, I did a charity thing with Best Buddies called the Gronk Spike Challenge. They went
Yeah.
to Gronk and asked him, and he's like, nope, want nothing to do with it because we have our own charity. And then I had a lawyer talk to me, and it was more of, and it wasn't like Gronk. People get this story twisted. I just had a lawyer talk to me and goes, if you start raising money for charity and you start getting advertisements and sponsorships and you use that word Gronk, you will get sued by that family. Like, that family cares about money. So if you raise $50,000, they're going to say you used our name to do it. So that's when I started learning about legalities and stuff. People
Mm,
don't, the younger generation, once you start getting a little older and you start getting into business, there's a lot of legality stuff that comes into it. So I did the Spike King because I was doing spiking things like the cheesesteak or the terrible towel and the
yeah. That was
footballs.
funny. Yeah.
And it's a play on to Gronkowski, sure, but he doesn't own the word spike. Like, he doesn't earn the word like
Mm,
Spike King. Like, he's the kings of spiking. And eventually it's not about the name. It's just about who the individual is behind the name that really matters itself. Like, people can call me Babz, SK. I don't really care. YG. It doesn't matter. It was a whole legality thing. So I've always known from the start, like, that Gronkowski's in it for the money. His family's in it for the money. They want to make as much money as possible with the word Rob Gronkowski as a brand name. You've seen it him going to WWE, him hosting shows. I mean, he's going to keep doing this. Him on Fox last year. Like, it's all money grabs. What it is. It's just I know I'm ranting. I always rant, but I think it was so disrespectful for the way he did it. And I do say that Tom Brady was at least more professional, and you knew that it was
yeah.
coming anyways.
Mm,
And I knew he was gone after that loss to Tennessee Titans. I knew he was gone the second he said, I'm done with Best Buddies locally. I'm just going to be an international brand ambassador, because Tom Brady did the Best Buddies thing for like 15 straight years in
yeah.
Massachusetts. But Tom Brady, when he did that Hulu commercial and saying, I'm coming back, and it was for Hulu, like that bugged me because he's playing with the Patriots fan base for marketing Hulu. And
Yeah.
I said it during that Super Bowl, and I posted it, and everyone jumped on me and said, Babz, you don't believe in the Patriots. You don't believe in Brady. I'm like, that guy's gone. That guy is not coming
Yeah.
here. He's using the Rob Gronkowski marketing ability to do it. And he played – he didn't do it to Gronkowski's extent, but he knew what he was doing. These guys knew what he do. Same thing with how I do stuff. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to play with fans. I know how to do that stuff, but it hurt more. It did hurt more.
You posted, I think when Gronk left, you posted, I think you peed on his jersey, I think. People got so mad at you. I thought it was hilarious. They were like, Gronk made your name. This is why you have 30,000 followers.
Oh, I love that. I spit
Yeah.
on his jersey. I did like a whole like F you to Gronk. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. And I do it to rile up the fan base. The second that Rob Gronkowski retires, just wait and see. I'm like, oh my God, I love you so much, Rob Gronkowski, like this and that. I don't have my background, but like if you watch my podcast or videos, it's the
Mhm.
Spike King jersey, and there's a signature on the jersey. That's
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski's signature. I've gotten to meet him once. That was from the after party, Rob Gronk at the Super Bowl. I just like Antonio Brown. I took his jersey and like I was in Pittsburgh and like I threw it over the railing, and then like the next year he's on the Patriots and I like rushed down to Patriot Place. I had my girl like make an Antonio Brown jersey and like support him. It's just fun and games.
Yeah.
I like to just rile up the fans once in a while and post stupid stuff. Like it's the same thing with Brady when like all offseason I was just posting him in different jerseys and shit. And like, you're not a true Patriots fan. Like I can't believe you're posting all this stuff. I don't give a shit, dude. Like it's just me and GRD. We just post things to make people laugh or make people angry.
I think I actually, your Instagram page is my favorite of all the Patriot stuff. I mean, there's like Pat's Perfect and those kind of pages. They're great, but yours is more personality based.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I just think that I love Fitzy. I grew up on Fitzy and Fitzy GFY. Like he is like pretty much like a brand ambassador for the Patriots. He's like they're he's like the voice of Patriots Nation is the way I look at it. And over time, GRD was doing his thing. I was like, I have a personality. I don't mind going out there and doing something. I like these kids. Justin Sobers, who runs Pat's Perfect account, he's got 144,000 followers, and there's another one, Patriots One, or like with the one in the middle, and he's from Canada, and he runs that account. Those guys are grinders because they put out all the information. It's just they don't want to show their face.
Yeah,
a lot of these Patriots accounts come up and come down, come up and come down. I block a lot of them because all they do is just talk shit. They're jealous. Like it's all jealousy. But like I've gotten very fortunate to meet players, go to events, do some really cool things and travel around. That's what I like about my account. That's what stinks about COVID this year. But it's just it's the power of this phone, and I can show you like this is my game day experience. This is what I'm doing today. This is how I'm having fun. It's never always about me. I don't care about me. I care about you, the fan. If I go to Tailgater 2000, I love the way they have their pre-games. That's like where I'm going to go for pre-games. Like, and it's awesome. Megan and Leanne, their fathers run that tailgate, and they've done it for 20 some odd years. And I said, like, this is the tailgate I'm always going to come to. Everyone has their own little place. When you go to road games, we have these road meetups. Like, I want to just show the fans out there. There are so many Pats fans that might never get to go to Gillette Stadium in their life to see a game, and I want to just show it off on my account.
Yeah.
I do some arrogant things and I do some dumb stuff or cringeworthy stuff, and that comes with it, with who I am. It is what it is. It's just funny to see a lot of these people. I'm not a journalist by any means. I don't break news. I do hear things. People tell me things. I know players. I know ex-players. I know friends. I know family members. I know people from the front office that talk to me. Like, there are people that say stuff, and whether I take it and I just post it, like, I'm not here to break news. I'm just, hey, I might hear that this is going on. Like the Jersey thing, like Jersey Gate last year, the Royal Blue thing. Like, I heard last May that they were putting in for Royal Blue jerseys, and they were putting in for a new set of jerseys. And I was trying to put the pieces together, and then I heard it from a second source. Like, like they have the Cowboys game. Like they haven't picked the jersey yet for that game. So I was like, let's run with it. I think they're going to go with the Royal Blues because Tyler just got in the Hall of Fame. And the thing is, I was completely wrong with it, and I looked stupid. And everyone's like, Jersey Gate, you look dumb. I mean, that's cool. I got something wrong. A lot of people get things wrong. I
Mhm.
mean, I was the first one to report that this guy Marcus Cannon's going to retire, and he didn't retire. He opted out, and he's going to retire because of the opt out.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, Hightower is going to retire next year.
No.
I'm
No.
telling you right now that the Brandon Bolden thing, I reported it, and the thing is, I'll report these things, and no one's gonna believe me. I give my sources sometimes. I feed them to the people who actually break the news because they trust me. They know, like, and I'll show them, like, this is where it's coming from. Like, this is what I hear, and it sucks. It sucks to be in the spot I'm in because I like the freedom and creativity of who I am. I can say
Yeah.
whatever I want, whatever I want to do, and I'm working for my own brand of Ride the Wave Media
Yeah.
that we created, and you're going to take your lumps, and these little Patriot fan accounts are going to hate it because they want what we have, and we're going to continue growing. I mean, we just released a merchandise shop. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, like, this is how big things are getting with, like, what we do. Like, Joe Stafford, I love this kid, 20-year-old kid, came in at 19 years old. Hey, man, I want to work with you guys. He worked, he grinded.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he met Chris Matthews, and Chris Matthews, a former Seattle Seahawk wide receiver, was like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast." They created their own podcast. They're having Tyler Lockett come on next week.
Wow.
They had Randall Cobb on recently. I got the word last night they're going to have Des Bryant come on pretty soon, and like I'm like, my mind is blown, and that's where this is what's cool about doing stuff like this, and being that leader of my own little group over there.
That's sorry.
No, I just say a lot. It's just because I rant.
Yeah.
I'll rant all day
No,
long.
no, I totally get that. So I don't know if you've looked at my channel, but I've been trying to grow my channel, and I'm trying to grow. Obviously, football's my favorite sport, but I'm also trying to grow in different directions. So I've gone in like an MMA direction. I want to kind of go into basketball. So like, if you
It's
look at my channel, already have one video with a UFC fighter, and I'm trying to get an NFL player.
I was saying this back when COVID was first happening. I was telling my group because, like, I am one individual and I can only do so much. You're one
Yeah.
individual, can only do so much. We have like at least a group, and I said this is the time to capitalize. Like, during COVID, because everyone's sitting out. Some things are
Hmm.
restricted. Now, when it comes to the New England Patriots, you will never get an interview with any single New England Patriot member unless they're a highly veteran player like a McCourty, like,
Yeah.
and he wants to do it with you. Um, other than that, they keep everything silent. That's Bill Belichick. But everything else is loose. It's not
Hmm.
hard to shoot a DM to somebody and say, "Hey, I have this podcast. You want to come on
Yeah.
and shoot the shit?" It's
It,
not hard to do that. And some of these people that I've worked with that Ride the Wave, or others I've seen in other podcasts, have been able to do that. It's a great way for everyone to just expand their brands. I will say, in terms of followers and following,
mhm.
like, I reached 30K. That's not an
Yeah.
easy feat to do.
Hmm.
Like, and even on Twitter, like, getting all those follows, not an easy feat to do. I don't pay attention. Once, like, at first, it's like you're trying to do anything, giveaways. Like, I
Yeah.
paid a lot of money to, like, put myself in the spot. I've traveled a lot, so obviously fans see that. But obviously, the stupid tattoos that I get
Yeah.
and the characters that I developed are fun to watch. But then there's a certain point when you hit a following. Like, I think once I hit 20K or something, I was like, I don't really care about, not that I don't care about the followers
Yeah.
themselves. I just don't care about the following. It's about the content you put out there. That's
Hmm.
cool. It's about the interactions, like me and you right now. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. This
Um,
means a lot to me. So.
I mean, it means a lot to me too. Like, I'm a busy guy. I'm
Hmm.
glad that we're able to take the time and do this. I get a lot of people that have given me death stares. Like, they know who I am. They go to games or wear the eye
Yeah.
black, and they hate me. They just hate me because they hate the personality. Like, just, you're not gonna please everybody. If you just have a conversation with me, I'm not a bad guy.
No.
I'm an idiot. Like, I'm like, this is who I am, whatever. And I think people accept that over time. But it's really hard to grow a brand. And I just want to tell people, like, just don't be discouraged. Like, just keep doing it because it's your hobby. You're having fun
Yeah.
with it. If it becomes tedious and it's like work, then it's just gotten too far. But just have fun with it, and try to collab with as many, like, this is awesome. You're collabing with someone
Yeah.
that has, like, a little following, right? Try to collab with as many people as you can as possible that have those followings. They're just normal people. Like,
Yeah.
Pat's Perfect is just a normal kid. I said call him a kid, but I mean he's just a normal guy. Like, that's
Yeah.
just what it is. Like, and you start working together and you're respectful and nice. That's how you move up. It's networking. Networking is the key thing. That's what I've done for the last 3 years, and that's why I'm in a good spot where I have different people I can talk to, different avenues I can go down. And we're still building. Like, it's just never be discouraged. You youngsters have a lot of power in your hands. Like me and GRD are 29 and 30 years old,
Wow. Yeah.
and we wish we had the Instagram and Twitter. Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't because of some of the stupid things we've done. But we've done so much stuff in sports that
Mm-hmm.
we're like, man, imagine we had Instagram back then. Imagine we were doing this back then. Some of the stuff like camping out for Celtics tickets, sleeping on the sidewalks, like camping out for Fenway Park, like we went to the NBA finals one year, like Warriors and Cavs, like just like stuff like that. We wish we had it because we want to show the experiences.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think what separates me and a GRD from everybody else is we can show you what our game day experiences are. And another thing too is don't be afraid to show yourself. Don't be afraid of your personality. Be outgoing. Like when I do podcasting, I'll rewatch every podcast I do to just watch my mannerisms, the way I talk, the words I say. It's a lot of studying and it takes time. Like a lot of people, like when you do podcasting, a lot of people get discouraged because they'll do it for like, 5 or 6 weeks and they'll be like, this sucks. Like no one's listening. I mean, we did Boston's Big Three for a year and a half. We're on episode 75 now or something like that. So that's 75 weeks plus a couple weeks we've missed in between. So, and it takes time to build chemistry with the people around you. Everyone's trying to do a podcast. Everyone's trying to do an Instagram. Everyone's trying to do a fan page. So GRD has said to me, like, it's almost at a point where it's very, very hard because it's such a oversaturated market, but you truly can stand out compared to the rest if you just come up with some creative ideas and concepts. Especially you being in Germany and being over there, you could be like the face of Germany, like of Patriots Nation. You know what I mean?
The issue is, like, I've tried to DM people. I get left on red a lot, right? On scene and stuff. Obviously, sometimes they just don't go through. The hardest thing is the time difference, right? I'm 6 hours ahead of you. So I say 2 o'clock because that's the best time for me. It's 8 o'clock or it's 8:40 now. It's dark outside, so I have 2 lamps up just to try and get some lighting.
I will say this. We have our buddy Matt Gordon who lives in Australia and he's completely on the opposite side of time with us. So anytime we're trying to do something with him or get him involved and that's the tough part of it. And I'll say this, about the red situation. It's tough because even someone like me, like sometimes on certain days, like on my phone, I get no messages and I try to I read every message. Then like on a Sunday when it's game day, I'm getting like 50 messages that day. And if someone asks me a question or wants to do something, like I think even for us two, I was just like, can we just push it off a little bit? Can we push it off a little bit? Because I want to make sure I save time for you.
Yeah.
You can't be discouraged about that. You also can't be too over pushy. Like there are some people that are so pushy, like every single hour, like just message, just like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like leave me alone for a second. I have a normal life. I have 2 kids now. Like I have like, I have things going on. I have a job. Like, but never be discouraged. You just keep going forward. You just keep doing it. I would love for you to link up with Matt Gordon now because I think what time is it now over there in Germany?
It is 8:40.
8:40. What time is it in Australia? It must be nighttime over there.
They're 9 hours ahead of me.
They're 9 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
And we're 8 hours behind. It's all fucked up, isn't it? It's just all crazy.
It's so hard because I'm 6 hours ahead of you. Australia is 9 hours ahead of me.
It's not easy. It's not easy, like having to be on the East Coast, trying to play with the East Coast time. Because even when things are breaking and news are breaking, you might be sleeping. Like, and I work the overnight shift. I work 11 to 7 when I'm actually working. So like I sleep during the day. So I miss a lot of news too. Like I'm on that kind of like your type, like on that different type of schedule. So
it's hard so obviously NFL game days start for you. I mean, the early games start at 1 o'clock. They start at 7 o'clock for me.
Yeah. It's like a primetime game all the time. So if they play a 4 or 8 o'clock game, like they play that 8 o'clock game. Did you like wake up? Like what time was that?
What do you, the 8 o'clock game? I couldn't watch the Seahawks game, for example, because it's too late and Sunday is school day or Sunday is a school night.
Well, it just shows you're not a dedicated fan. A dedicated fan would have not.
No, No, I mean, I'm not allowed. You can talk to my parents about it.
Nah,
I
it
convinced
does
them.
suck. It does it does suck. Like I'm a huge fan of like WWE and wrestling
Yeah.
in general. I haven't watched too much of it as of recent,
Mm,
but even the same thing with pay-per-views. They start at 8 p.m. EST, Eastern
yeah.
Standard Time, and these people that are international because they go in a squared circle on Reddit, and I'd read things, and they're people from Germany, all across Europe, Russia, China, and they're like, I either have to get up early in the morning or I have to stay up late at night to watch it. Like it's always interesting with the international fans,
Yeah.
and it kind of shows how like hooked international fans are to
Hmm.
American sports. I mean, soccer is the biggest sport in the world,
Yeah.
100%. Americans will never admit that because they're blind to anything
Yeah.
international they don't care about.
Hmm.
But soccer is the biggest sport in the world,
Yeah.
and I'd say
Definitely.
American football would be I don't know maybe rugby and I don't know any other cricket and stuff like that, but I'd say American football has to be up there number two behind soccer. Not close at all, but I think it's there, especially
Yeah.
with the fanfare they've been building up over the years. Um, Even basketball, like how big basketball has gotten over
Basketball's
time
huge. Yeah.
with China. Like in China, they've really targeted that market. Michael Jordan really helped that out
Yeah.
during the '90s
Definitely. Yeah.
to expand it into international play. Um, it's just interesting how, and that's what I said about NFL in Europe. Like if they were to go to Germany and how jam
Hmm.
packed that would be for be a
Oh yeah.
Patriots home game, it'd be awesome. What's cool about this too, man, is that there are other German fans that follow me, and
Hmm.
they've like, I want you to fly out to Germany for a game if they ever come here. Like I'll help you. I'll take care of you. That's what's actually cool about doing this is that like for an example, I went to the Houston Texans game last year, and they have a
Mm.
humongous fan group down in Texas. They
Yeah.
don't get to go travel to Gillette. They don't get to go do this. And there's people that follow me because they see my life. They know I'm a jabroni some days, and some days they're like, that guy's not a bad guy. I like to meet him, have a beer with him, and I was able
Yeah.
to do it. And you make so many connections and friends, and that's a fun part of doing what I do. And I tell anybody that's younger, I mean, it's gonna take a while, but travel, like get yourself out there between the ages of like 23 to 30. Like if you can travel as much as possible and you make it happen, you make it happen. People don't understand. I show you whatever I want to show you on here. You
Yeah.
never see what's going on behind the scenes when that's off. And the restless nights, sleepless nights, working three days in a row on three straight 16
Yeah.
hour shifts, flying out, then coming back and going right to work. I've done it all, and I've had a lot of to build a brand at the
Yeah.
same time, but to have fun and travel. I've gotten to see a lot of things that not a lot of people have been able to do. I'm the guy that will fly 2.5 hours to Chicago, get a rental car, drive down to Cincinnati, which is 5 hours, 5.5 hours,
Yeah.
and then drive back up to Chicago and fly back to Boston because I want to see the Midwest. I want to see, I want to see what this world has to offer. I don't have my passport and I will get it one day, and I want to travel across the country, especially when I know down the line post COVID and when things start settling a little bit better, when we can start doing more international traveling. I want to catch a game out there. I'd love to see
Yeah.
the Patriots
Same.
overseas.
The issue is, I mean, so I live near Frankfurt, and if there's a Patriots game, that will be in Berlin, obviously, because that's the biggest German city.
How far away is that?
6, 7 hours, I believe.
Jeez, it's pretty big. That's pretty big country. I thought when you look on the map, I feel like it's small, but that makes sense. 6 hours is the equivalent of, I would say, Boston to, I think I would say Philadelphia, maybe like a little past Philadelphia,
I
maybe
know
Atlantic City.
New York from my grandma's house in Plymouth to New York. That's 5 hour drive.
5 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
It also depends on like where you're going off the highway and
Yeah.
stuff like that too, and what road you end up taking. Yeah, 4 hours to New York definitely, and I think it's 5 or 6 hours to Philadelphia. So you guys
Yeah.
got to go through like New Jersey or whatever.
Hmm.
That's the equivalent. But and those rides like they suck. Like they're long. You get
Yeah.
excited. I tell you, you know how many times that I've gone to a road game and the Patriots have lost or Celtics have lost,
Hmm.
and it's just the longest car ride home, and you just feel so miserable, or just the longest like I want to just get home and crawl into my bed right now.
Yeah. I mean, so really, I obviously prefer it when the Patriots have an early game. The only issue with the early games is it's the Dolphins games, the Bills games, or more divisional games, but I never get to see Patriots Chiefs, Patriots Ravens live. You know,
Yeah. So example, like the next week's game, that's 4:25 here. So what time's that for you? Like,
the Patriots game this week.
no,
Like,
next week against
oh,
Kansas
next week.
City. I think
Four,
that's a 4:25 game. So like, what time's that for
that's
you?
10:30 for me.
Would you like stay up and watch the first quarter?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, football games are like 4 hours long.
Yeah,
So
it's tough. It's like, why
I
would you be
catch the first
teased?
quarter before having to go to bed. But then I'll watch everything in the morning. I'll find out everything. I use your page to know everything about
Yeah,
Patriots if I miss a game.
yeah. Do you have like an NFL Game Pass or something like that where you can like watch the games back?
Um, I use Sports Search for the live games.
Yep.
I don't know if you use it at all or have you.
I've heard of it. Like I just know like because there's sometimes I'm at work or I'm
Mhm.
like out and about and I have a computer and if like or I'm on my phone and I want to watch
Yeah.
the game like buff streams, crack streams, like
Yeah.
sometimes Instagram, sometimes some of these people like do like live streams of the
Two
game
minute
so you
drill,
can
for
watch it.
example.
Yeah, yeah. That's our little brand. You're not supposed to be doing that, but I probably just screwed them. Pat's perfect. I mean, he does that. He's been
He
doing it
does?
for all those years too. Yeah, he does it as well. I don't
I
think
guess
he's
I
doing
just
it this
don't have
week.
his notifications on.
Yeah, I'm yeah, because I know a lot of international. Like that's what I get on Sundays. Like, where can I watch the game? Where can I watch the
Mhm.
game? I don't have the stream of it. We can't watch it over here. Blah blah blah. It's tough. Like to like you said, you can't watch some of those prime time
Yeah.
big games. So what about the Super Bowls? Like, do you at least
I
watch
can't cause
those?
like I've tried to talk to my parents and like, I can
Yeah.
miss the Monday. I've tried to strike deals with them like if I get really good grades, then I get to watch the Super Bowl.
I like that. A
It's
little
just
contract negotiation.
it's just never happened. So I've never watched the Super Bowl live, but I've been lucky. In the season we played the Rams in the Super Bowl, so 53. I was sick over that weekend. I got really sick, and so I had the Monday off. So I was able to, before I knew the result, I I put on the Patriots game. I found a full game
Oh,
highlight. So I watched the thing, and I was scared that we were gonna lose.
oh, so you got to like kind of watch it back,
Watch
like
it back.
without,
Yeah, I
but
got
yeah,
to watch
yeah.
it back.
But you didn't know like what happened yet or
No,
anything. That's
I
still,
didn't know what happened.
I count that as you technically watched it
Yeah.
live.
I
I'll
mean,
count that up there.
I think even when even though I was sick, like I barely slept. I mean, I was
Yeah.
sick, but just the nerves of the Super Bowl. Like every night, I have the Super Bowl 49 poster in my room above my
Yep.
bed, and every time we're in a Super Bowl, I'm like, "Please, Lord, let us win the Super Bowl, please." And like the Eagles' loss for me was gut wrenching,
hmm
and then is but
I was just gonna say like if anyone's listening and they're like want to make fun of you or
yeah,
you're like, hey, every parent or parenting in general is different. Everyone's going to
mhm,
do things differently. And I'm actually happy you're one of those kids that listens to your parents and you're smart enough to negotiate and say, hey,
yeah,
if I get good grades, let's do this. And you know what? You can't dictate what things happen and it is
mhm,
what it is.
yeah,
And as you get older, you're gonna have a little bit more freedom when things come up. And you know, I'm not gonna be a bad influence on you to tell you not to listen to your parents because now
yeah,
I'm a dad now. So like
yeah,
I have to do. Everyone's different, you know. And especially around the world too, things are just different in different countries as well too. Um, but I that Eagles Super Bowl. We went down to Philadelphia and we filmed 5 videos like in the same day.
mhm,
Like we like went down there early in the morning and I filmed all 5 videos. And this was back when Young Gronk was happening. I did the
yeah,
cheesesteak spike. And I do remember that Super Bowl day. And here in America, me and GRD went to a Celtics game and the Celtics won like on a buzzer beater with Al Horford. And then I remember I was so tired. I just worked 16 hours, got out of work at 7 a.m. And then it was
yeah,
just like the Celtics were at noon. Like, and it's just like, here you go, Brian. Like, here, start your day. Like, let's go. And I remember sitting in the car. We're going to go pick up some beer to like watch the
yeah,
game. I had a party at the house, and I just sit in the car and I remember looking up in the skies. It was a gray, gloomy day in Boston, and I was like, this day is gonna suck. Like this, I just had a bad feeling about it. And just watching that Super Bowl, it just felt so defeated, deflated. But what was great about that Super Bowl loss was everyone came on my page. They write L's. They make fun of me. I
yeah,
just made fun of myself. And I think that's what people liked about me is that when the Patriots lose, it is what it is. Like, it's just a game at the end of the day, and I'll
Mhm.
accept the defeat and look like a clown. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing right here was a bet between me and GRD and the
Yeah.
Super Bowl 53 tattoo, and it paid off like crazy.
Do you have? Do
Like,
you still have the 54?
I still have this one, and people, you know, GRD was like, don't do it. Like, you're an idiot. Like, there's no way it's going to happen back to back. I truly believe the Patriots had the greatest defense last year. Like, going
Yeah.
into the season, I was like, dude, they're going to have such a nasty defense. I think that they can do it. Like, they could do it. They looked like they were going to do it in the offseason. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't believe it.
Mhm.
But at the same time, this tattoo was also a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Again, just like how Brady and Gronk do it, it's a marketing tool, because then who comes along? The NFL, the check down, which is part of the NFL network. And then we did the tattoo event at Gillette Stadium, and we raised like 1,500 or something like that for Best Buddies. Like, and so we raised money with the tattoo event, and that's what's cool about it. And during the season, at the beginning of the season, it looked pretty good that things were
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah. We're
Uh,
8-0, I believe, and then
yeah,
we
and
lost the
head into that
Ravens.
Baltimore game, and you had Antonio Brown. Even with the loss of Antonio Brown, like, this team can pull it off. They can find that magic.
Yeah.
I mean, Super Bowl 53 was just the way things happened was just crazy and magical. And you could say you pushed the limit, but it is what it is. There's no hate. Like, I mean, look
Yeah.
at me. I have like a Taco Fall
Yeah.
tattoo now, like Taco Tuesday. I mean, it was a bet. I said if Taco Fall makes the Boston Celtics roster,
Mhm.
I would get it, and I got it. I'm eventually just gonna have sleeves of sports sleeves on my arm, and they all tell stories. Like,
Yeah.
just because this tattoo here says Super Bowl champions, not a lot of people are going to know what it means, but it tells a story. It tells the story of the entire season. People believing into it and believing the hype, and using this ability to network with a lot of people. And I have zero regrets. I'm never going to cover it up. Like, I don't really care. It's just, to me, like, I don't, it's funny. Like, I'll post like an Odell Beckham jersey. That's not even mine. That's a Patriots jersey.
Yeah.
And people will comment like, I can't believe you spent that. You have babies at home. I can't believe you waste your money on things
Yeah.
like that. That's, people like to talk, and just, I like to make people assume things. Like, I just want people to talk and talk
Was
their
it
shit.
real or was it fake? Did you?
Yeah.
It was fake.
Like that's like it, like that Beckham jersey, like, I found it like a year ago when it was floating around, and I just reposted it, and just the comments, like, people want to always be one step ahead of you or two steps
Mhm.
ahead of you, thinking they know what's going on. When in reality, I just post things to post things and just talk that shit.
Yeah.
The Jared Stidham thing, like, wasn't me really pushing a narrative. It was just, that's what I was being told, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go in on Stidham because everyone's going on Cam Newton,
Yeah.
and an injury happens. It is what it is, and I look stupid, but I'm like, it's not like I ever badmouthed Cam Newton. I've been saying it time and time again. He was going to eventually start. Um, and what's tough, dude, doing the Instagram stuff, especially what's going on in America, and I don't want to get political, but like, just, and even though it's not political, it's a human rights matter, but Black Lives Matter and what's
Yeah.
going on with that. I mean, me being Caucasian, white, I mean, I'm Armenian. I was a minority in the city I grew up in. That's the way I look at things. I don't
Mhm.
care about the color of your skin. I care about respecting one another.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of hate during this time saying that I'm racist because I don't like Cam Newton, and that bothers me. So sometimes when you're doing this, because it bothers me, because it's like, this has nothing to do with race. Like, it has nothing to do with that at all.
Yeah.
And it bothers me that sometimes having the social media platform and having those many followers, it's negative. Like
Yeah.
I talked to Ty Law about it, like, when I first met him, and he was like, I wish I had Julian Edelman's 2 million followers, because he wants to promote products and do this and that. I'm like,
Yeah.
sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, because when you left the New England Patriots and went to the New York Jets, think about how many people hate you. Look at me, the way I make fun of Kyle Van Noy. That guy probably opens up his Instagram and goes, I fucking hate that kid. I fucking
Yeah.
hate the Spike King, because he keeps saying all the stupid shit about me. And he's got more money than me, and he plays the game. I'm just a
Yeah.
fat slob who just watches. But it's just, that's how negative. It's also negative sides about social media as well too, and you can't take that stuff to heart. Like, some days, like, we all have bad days. We're human beings. And you open up your account and you see that, and it hurts. Like, sometimes you see some of the stuff, I want to punch some of these people
Yeah.
that are just so stupid, and some of these kids, because you know why? It is true. Even if I do it to players, if you see these people in person, if I saw a player in person, or if someone saw me in person, you never talk shit. No one's ever talked shit to me. It's happened once or twice that someone
Yeah.
had said something, and like it is what it is. Like most of these people just eyeball you.
I have a funny story about Devontae Parker. I believe it was that before last season. So obviously I'm a Patriots fan, so I don't like the Dolphins. I never really liked Devontae Parker, and I for some reason was following him, and he posted a picture, and I said, "Oh, you probably dropped the ball after the picture, right?" Just trying to get a laugh, and then Dolphins fans just flooded me with DMs, comments, and they were hating on me. But all I replied with, "Nah, he's bad. Nah, he's bad." And it got to the point where Devontae Parker got mad and blocked me on
Uh,
Instagram.
like it's just sometimes it's just a simple troll job. I don't know. The internet is so ruthless, dude. Like it's like Nelson Aguilar. Like everyone's
Yeah,
saying how
that was
when
yeah,
that guy that caught the baby in the Philadelphia fire, it was like at least I had better hands than Nelson Aguilar.
yeah,
Like it's just gonna happen. It's like Brady kissing his son. Like it's just
yeah,
it's the stuff like that. It's part of the internet. Like it's just how it goes. I like to troll. I do the troll job, but then I get trolled and I
yeah,
get trolled, then I get upset too, and I block
yeah.
people. So it's just
Exactly. Yeah.
funny how it's circle of the internet how it works.
No, if you scroll through my blocked list, it's a lot of those Dolphins fans because they just got really really angry at me because like obviously I was trying to get a reaction. Obviously, I didn't expect 1,000 replies and Devontae Parker to block me, but
Is it, yeah, and that's the thing about blocking people too is like I can get like say you make one post, right?
mhm,
Everyone's just going on there. But then if you keep posting things and it's the same individuals that just keep on every single post, like
mhm,
nonstop, like just commenting things, I block them. Like, because it's like if I do a dumb post and people hate it, and then 3 posts later, someone's still commenting about that post from before or from like a week ago or something like that, I just block them because it's like, dude, like move on. Like the internet moves on too, or like people always like to bring up the jersey thing. Like it's
yeah,
just like, oh, but remember you did the jersey thing and you got that wrong. It's like, do you not pay attention to anything else that's happened over the last year? Like, you just want to keep bringing that up. That's cool. Like you're surviving off of that. Like I had this kid message me, this guy actually. I mean, he's older and he's like messaging me and it was like, I actually have it saved, dude. Well, I don't want to look at it. He was just pretty much saying he's a guy with 55 followers.
yeah,
You look so stupid. You're losing followers every single day, blah, 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 like this and that. And I was just like, why do you care so much? Like I'll DM people. Why do you care so
yeah,
much about my followers? Like, what does that matter to you? So you make Patriots Nation look bad. You're a clown. You're a child, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I mean, dude, like if that's what you want to do, you have 55 followers. I mean, at least I'm not going to lose 30,000 followers and go down to your level. Like you're just,
yeah,
I don't know. And this kid was from Iowa. Like it just makes. But he on every post, like just posting. Like there's always that. Like that's the thing with the race thing that I was
yeah,
just talking about. There'd always be people on every post trying to push a narrative. There's people out there that are gonna because they're trolling, and
yeah,
you got to push the narrative. And you know what? I will do that too. Like I do that sometimes myself, I'm not gonna try to say I'm being a hypocrite. It's how the internet works. That's everyone gets blocked, and I'll get blocked. I'm sure I'm blocked.
Oh, I'm
I think
blocked.
Nate Burleson blocked me. Like
Nate
Nate
Burleson.
Burleson blocked me, unblocked me, blocked me. Like it happens. Like it is what it is.
I've been trying to get like Nate Burleson and Kay Adams on my channel. I think that would be so cool, but it'll never
It will,
happen. They'll never see my messages.
and one thing, it doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah.
Another thing too that I've learned with the podcasting stuff, because there's been people like I want to get like Big Jim Murray. Like so over here in Boston, he's on the 98.5, the
Hmm.
Sports Hub. So there's 2 major radio stations, sports radio. One of them's more major than the other one, which is Sports Hub. And sometimes they have contracts like that state like you cannot go like onto another person's
Yeah.
podcast or you can't go on to do something else. So that's the tough part about doing this as well too. Um, but you never know. You just like I said, like just shoot your shot. You just never know. You
Exactly.
might catch them on a good day, or you might just catch somebody. Um, a good thing to build the brand, in my opinion, to you would be a lot of these ex players that played for the Patriots
Yeah.
or guys that are retired from the big first half of the dynasty. And you do a little homework and you just ask them a couple simple questions, and even giving them an advance notice, like just things like that. We've done that a couple times with some past players, and then some people just have free time to do it. Like
Yeah.
we got TJ Hujmanzada on, like on Boston's Big Three. I mean, I think he's on Fox or FS1, I believe. And I mean, he took the time of his day to do it, and he liked it. I mean, he was cool with it. So, um, Yeah, just like I said, just keep shooting your shot. I can tell anybody, just
Exactly.
shoot your shot. Don't be
Yeah.
discouraged. Like, who cares? Like, I could have left you unseen probably
Yeah.
before, and like it's just because I'm busy. Like, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden
Exactly.
it's like yeah, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. I try to do it more often than not because I'm a fan of the game. I'm just a
Hmm.
fan. I'm not like an athlete. Like, I mean, I have a busy schedule myself, but
Yeah.
I don't want to discourage somebody that's like super supportive. Like, I want to support each other. So
Yeah.
that's all I'm about. So.
I wanted to ask you. I might cut this out, but do you know any expatriates that you think would reply to my messages and be on this? Because I would love to get some Patriots players.
Um, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to like see. Sometimes it's about their accounts too. Like if someone
Hmm.
has like 3 million followers, it also depends on what time you ask them.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Collins, like a Jamie Collins would be good. Maybe a
Hmm.
Landon Roberts. Some of the guys that just left, like you
Yeah.
might be able to get them. Um, but some guys like from the first half of the dynasty, like Otis Smith, I know he has an Instagram. Maybe Ben Coates, I know he has an Instagram
Hmm.
with like no followers on it, but he's active. Um, I know Teddy won't like Teddy like I wouldn't. I think he just wouldn't do it because he
Yeah.
just does his own thing. Ty is like always busy. Troy Brown's with the Patriots, so he definitely wouldn't do it.
I've talked to
Uh,
Rob Ninkovich. That was one
Rob
thing.
Ninkovich might be able to do it. He's somebody that I feel like would come on there. Sometimes when you ask these people too, instead of just saying, "Hey, can you come on my podcast?"
Yeah.
You want to spruce yourself up and seem like you're a little bit bigger than who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what the Spike King thing is. Like,
Uh,
so I would just, if I was still talking to him, be like, hey, I'm the number one Patriots podcast in Germany. Like, we're the number
mm,
one podcast in Germany.
yeah.
I would love to have you on. I would like to talk about these specific topics because it's like it's like an elevator pitch. It's like your one shot. So when he opens up his phone and he looks at it, he goes, I gotta have a little time to do this. Why not?
Yeah.
Germany, number one podcast. He's not gonna look into something like that. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes, and we've done that in the past. Not that you're conning somebody. It's just that
Hmm.
you got to oversell who you are, and
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do to get them on your show. Because if you have a Rob Ninkovich and then you promote it and it's out there and you put it on like a YouTube as well too, and you have his name, it might go somewhere. You might get some listeners off of that. And hey, especially if you get Rob Ninkovich to have some good quotes. Like,
Hmm.
another thing too is if you end up having people on interviews, like I try to do video all the time. I love having video. But let's say if you have audio,
Yeah.
taking certain audio clips, editing. I'm not good at editing stuff. Like, I'm not tech savvy.
I
But
work as an editor. Like.
so if you have clips of these people that are on, you take the clips, you put them on
Hmm.
Instagram,
Yeah.
you put them on YouTube, you try to put them on Twitter, especially if they say something that's like noteworthy.
Hmm.
An example of this was an example of saying something noteworthy is Cordero Patterson. So these two guys, Justin Turpin and Matt Mullen, I believe his name is, do this. They're called Redline Sports or whatever.
Hmm.
Like, they're in Boston. There's two young kids, right? And I was working with the Massachusetts Pirates Arena football team at the time, so I got them media passes because they're learning. Everyone's learning. So I'm like,
Yeah.
here's some media passes. Cordell Patterson and Jonathan Jones were there. Cordell Patterson was on the Bears now. Like, this was going into
Yeah.
that season. Was at or after the season, whatever. And he was like asking Cordell Patterson, like, they were asking, he's like, do you think we can ask some questions? Like, yes, okay, you can. I had to leave. I was like, ask them one question only. It better be a good question
Yeah.
because they're not gonna really want to talk to media. So they were able. so Justin Turpin goes like, young kid, and he's just like, hey, Cordell Patterson, what does that Super Bowl mean to you? And then Cordell Patterson's like, that Super Bowl don't mean shit. And just having that quote from, like, that was Cordell Patterson saying it. What did he do? I heard it afterwards. I was like, you need to take that clip, you need to edit it down, and it's not taken out of context. Like,
Yeah.
he went on and talked about it because he's talking about how the Super Bowl doesn't mean anything to him because he's no longer playing with the Patriots.
Hmm.
And I said, it's not really an out of context quote, but the media will love that. And that blew up. It blew up one day. Like,
Yeah.
they actually got a cease and desist letter for using the name Redline Radio or something, or Redline Sports, or Redline Media is what they're called, because it was another company in Florida. And it was just so funny. That's how things kind of blow up. That's why Bill Belichick never wants Patriots players to
Yeah.
ever talk to media, because one little thing you say can be completely blown up and missed and taken out of context. The same way things happen to me. I say something and I'll spin things too. Like it's just how it goes in the media world. That's how you build a brand, though. You get sometimes you could take everything I say today out of context and be like,
Yeah.
Spike King said this, this, and this, and you can edit it together and make me look stupid, and people will buy into it, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, so with the interviews, so I don't know. I think I said this before, but I interviewed a UFC fighter. It's on my page. Um, and I use that when I DM people. I'm like, "Hello, I'm a big fan of the Patriots. I recently interviewed," and then I tag that person's account, and then I say, I run this channel. It's not got so many subscribers, but I think a name like you would be really cool and it'd be eye catching. I would love to talk to you. Write me back soon. That's my
Yeah,
pitch.
it's smart, because let's say for Boston's Big Three, we did not have a guest until our 40th episode. We
Mm-hmm.
went 40 weeks without a guest, like a special guest.
Yeah.
And it ended up being Ty Law. And it was more because Ty Law was doing me a favor because of supporting him, and I got him at the right time. And then we used Ty Law's name to then like catch other people. So
Yeah.
then we eventually got Pat Fryermuth because we had a connection with him at Penn State, which he's going to end up being the #1 tight end drafted next year
Mm-hmm.
in the 2021 NFL draft. And then we got a couple local people, and then we got TJ Hujmanzada, and then you start building back. We got Brian Scalabrine. Like
Yeah.
you just start, then now you can start building it, and you build a resume off of it. And
Yeah.
that's a great pitch. Like if you're just saying, hey, we used to have this guy came on, like, can we have you come on?
Yeah.
So that individual athlete or celebrity or whoever it ends up being might say, oh, if they went on, like, well, I'll give it a shot. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go on. I'll take the time to do it.
The thing I'm always scared of when I message people, and maybe this happens when I'm left on scene, but they click the link in my bio, which is to my interview, and the biggest red flag is 50 subscribers, right? And they're like,
Yeah, I mean that hurts. It's
yeah,
hard. YouTube is so hard to grow
so
on.
hard.
We hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube for
Mm-hmm.
Ride the Wave Media, and the only reason is because I posted a video. I forget what video it was. I think it was like a Cam Newton video, that
Yeah.
roundtable video when they were talking before the season, and I took a 6-minute clip from it and I posted on YouTube, and it got like 500,000 views, and we just
Mm-hmm.
gained a bunch of subscribers because of that. So I just know that, like, so that's another thing about your YouTube channels. Say recently, I'll pull up my YouTube. So like, I just used Ride the Wave Media. We
Yeah.
just post whatever. I don't know if you saw it, Bronny Jr. He was like smoking weed on his
Yeah.
Instagram.
That
It was a
so
4-second video, right? So I took that video and I uploaded it to YouTube, and I just put as the thing. Oh, dude, where did it go? Oh, here it is. I posted on YouTube as Bronny James smokes weed on his Instagram story. So that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And end up getting 25K views. So like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great way to build up YouTube. I told everybody, because like those videos, like I posted all of Cam Newton's Instagram videos. Like
Yeah.
they might get blocked because of copyright, which is just like you're not monetizing off of it.
Yeah.
But the followers going up, like 2,000 subscribers is pretty big.
Yeah.
Like here's another one. Like I did OBJ will be a New England Patriot. I did a video about like why I thought Odell was going to come. That got 2,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of ours, like, dude, like a GRD podcast, 38 views. Like sometimes it's just hard. The Bill Belichick Subway commercial, 7-second Subway commercial. It got 23K views just because it says Bill Belichick Subway commercial part 2. So sometimes I just say this to people that are going into YouTube or yourself to build up your subscribers. Sometimes it's just videos that are already surfacing on Instagram or Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and just posting them on YouTube with like a catchy title might attract more subscribers. Because I think you're right. I think seeing 50 hurts you. And say even on Instagram, I got all these people always asking for shout outs and this and that. I used to do the same thing. Like when I was growing, I mean, I started with 200 followers, 300 followers. And because my account, Spike King, was my personal account. Like it was my personal regular account. It wasn't ever a character account. So I grew that from 300 to 30,000. But I mean, look at all the stuff I've done over 3 years to get to that point. But it's just being interactive. It's dude, being on my phone. I'm on my phone like 24/7. Like it's a
Yeah, same.
grind. Like it's interacting with people. That's what I told Ty Law, like when he was trying to build his Instagram. I'm like, you need to talk to people. You need to interact with people.
Yeah.
I told that to Brewski when he first was doing it. I told him a simple emoji, like, hey, like a simple emoji, like the fist bump emoji, like people feel like you're talking to them, and you make their day doing that.
Yeah.
It makes their day. So interaction. Sometimes I see another thing is sometimes there's groups, like it's like high school, like it's just like these clique groups, like these
Yeah.
Patriots groups that like all promote each other. I mean, I'm on Twitter. I'm not big on Twitter.
Mm.
I'm under 1,000 followers. I don't use it that much, but
I have like 27.
27 followers. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't use it, but
But I
like I'm
tweet
in like,
absolute rubbish on Twitter.
yeah, I mean, Twitter's a cesspool. I hate Twitter. But and that's why I don't want to go on there, because I don't want to be part of that cesspool. I'm already a cesspool on Instagram. But yeah, it's just finding other people to work with each other. Like, it's like sometimes when I was like, maybe I had 3,000 followers on
Hmm.
Instagram, I'd work with another account that had 2,000 followers. Like, you work your way up, man. You just got to keep networking. You got to just keep grinding. That's what it
Yeah.
is. The grind. It's worth it sometimes too. It stinks. It absolutely stinks at the same time to be in your spot, to be like, I am over here in Germany and I'm
Yeah.
like not in the Boston area. I'm not able to attend events. I'm not able to live up through some of the stuff. So it makes it even more challenging to grow as a brand. Whereas like someone like Pat's Perfect lives in the Boston area, and I can hit him up and say, hey, dude, I have 2 tickets to go to this tonight. You want
Yeah.
to come with me? Like, let's go. Cause he's helped build my brand.
Hmm.
Or sometimes working with some individuals and saying like, hey, I'll give you, I don't care. I'm a guy that never cares about autographs. Like I don't care about the autographs. The Rob Gronkowski thing was cool because it was the Super Bowl 53. It was at
Yeah.
the after party and it's on my jersey. But like, say, or like Ty Law, I hope down the line, like I wanted to get something super legitimate that's personalized just for
Yeah.
me. But I don't care about autographs. I've gone to a lot of these autograph sessions. I'll give them out. I did this there, like Gunnar Olszewski. I did like a Gunnar Olszewski giveaway last year. I went to a signing. I was like, yo, bro, like I got his jersey like printed. Like, they don't make Gunnar Olszewski
Yeah.
jerseys. And I got it printed, signed, and like I end up doing a giveaway or something like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that with Dietrich Wise, but we never got around to it. And I wanted to do that with David Andrews, and then never got around to it. I think that was like, it just sometimes like when the off season hits, all these players are gone. Like they all
Yeah.
leave New England, they go back home. So, um, yeah, it's hard to build a brand across
Yeah.
overseas. I give you all the credit. Just keep grinding. Just make yourself known as the number one Patriots podcast in Germany.
Yeah.
Just say you are. I mean, everyone wants to say the number one at something. We're the number one soda out there.
Yeah.
We're the number one Patriots podcast in America. We're the number one thing of this. Like, we're the number one coffee brand. Like, you just say you're the number one that. Just run with it.
I think let's try and run more into a little bit of a football topic. Now I want to
Yeah.
hear week 3 predictions. I can read off the games when we talk about each game. And
Yeah,
then
yeah. I'm gonna pull up my phone because I'm gonna look at the games too.
yeah. And also, I mean, through the week 3 predictions, you have your parlay.
My parlays. Yeah, let me talk about the parlays, the Babz parlays for a
Yeah.
second. So parlays, when it comes to sports gambling, I'm not going to tell you to do it. I'm not telling anyone to go do it. Gambling is, I mean, overseas, it's been there. Like, it's done that. Like, you go to soccer stadiums, you can gamble right there at the soccer stadium, right? At the matches, as they'll say.
Yeah.
In America, gambling is just starting to become legalized nationwide. DraftKings with their daily fantasy, which started in Boston, it became huge. And then FanDuel,
Yeah.
like, they both became so big. They became too big that they were doing so many ads over here. So now it
FanDuel
went.
is now on the Pat McAfee show. I'm a big fan of the Pat McAfee show. I have a T-shirt and stuff.
Yeah, Pat McAfee's awesome. Love him.
I love him. Yeah.
And I'm glad that his brand, he worked with Barstool, and it was just a mutual split. But I'm glad that himself and as a brand got to go do his own thing. And he's awesome. He's a former player with a personality.
Exactly.
That's what sells.
That's what I love about him. It's just so much personality. He's loyal to his friends. You know, it's not like he just went on and found his Colts guys. You know, he's stuck with his high school buddies.
And another, I know we're off topic with the Babz parlay, but
Yeah.
with Chris Matthews coming on to Stafford and Matthews and having his own podcast, I mean, this guy, and I said no, and I've talked to Chris Matthews. I mean, we're the same age. Like, I'm like, no offense, dude, you didn't, you played football. I'm like, you did nothing, and you've done nothing in your career except, I mean, you caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and you almost won. But he's just played with so many different teams.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because of the connections and friendships he's built. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden we're getting Randall Cobb, Tyler Lockett, like Richard Sherman might be coming on. Like
Oh my God,
Frank
that's big.
Clark's going to come on because Chris Matthews, as an individual human being, has made all these friends. Same thing with Pat McAfee. Even though he's a fun, outgoing personality, he has, like you said, those friends and the network that he's built up that he's able to use to keep building his brand. Let's go back to the gambling aspect. Massachusetts. So last year, we have bookies. Like, you just go through underground bookies. And when I gamble on sports, I've gambled quite a bit. I don't try to gamble too much money because you don't want to gamble the money you don't have. So I do $20 parlays.
Yeah.
And I did them last year, and I hit about 2 or 3 of them, and I made like 5,000 American dollars off of it. And that's your season. Like, it's paid for, like, and you profited, and that's cool. So this year, Massachusetts, like, they're legalizing sports gambling. And we just had our first casino open up in Massachusetts, and like Connecticut had a casino down south, but it's just like no sports gambling. So now it's starting to grow. So all of a sudden, New Hampshire above us in Massachusetts legalized it, and DraftKings is their main thing. So on your phone, you can do mobile betting as long as you're in the state of Massachusetts. Rhode Island has had sports betting for, I think they just got it maybe last year or 2 years ago. So they have 2 casinos and they have a mobile thing. So me being in Massachusetts in the middle, and I'm living closer to Rhode Island now, I have talked to these casinos, and I've been trying to pitch them getting a sponsorship, just like how Pat McAfee has the FanDuel sponsorship.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys have money to do it. And me being the personality I am and being outgoing, I'm trying to sell it.
Yeah.
The problem is everyone has their hands in this, and it's very hard to get. So what I did was let me come up with an idea for this NFL season. And I said, I will do a parlay, like a couple parlays every single week. The Babz parlay of the week. I'll make it a YouTube series. So here's another thing, Pat. Like, sometimes when you're doing stuff, you got to think long term. Like, sometimes you got to think 1 year in advance, 2 years in advance when you do things. That's what a lot of people struggle with on Instagram, social media, or podcasting. You have to have a vision for 6 months down the line, 1 year, 2 years. So I'm thinking ahead here. If I do a YouTube series, an Instagram TV series, and this is actually a fun way to interact with other people who gamble, like across the world, because people have been sending me stuff, and I have no idea how to read it. And if I hit on one parlay, my season's good. I'm paid for. The whole segment's paid for. All I went down to Rhode Island. I said, all I want is you guys to credit me. Like I want like $100 a week, like for credit or whatever, so I can gamble. And they were interested, but it's like, our fourth quarter's already passed. We don't really know who you are. You know, you have to package yourself a little bit better. So the purpose of doing the Babz parlays of the week, which we'll run down the games and I'll tell you what I like and I don't like, is that I'm looking at the future as when Massachusetts gets sports gambling legalized, I want to be on top of it. Like, I want to go to whoever ends up doing it and say, I've done a full NFL season of videos, and I've done this, and I'm 30 years old now. I'll be 30 years old next year. So I'm 30 years old. I have a brand. We're just doing the bostonsbig3.com thing. We can be able to pitch it to somebody. That's me thinking long term about doing sports gambling. Like I said, as I'm building a brand, see, I'm always an open book. I don't hide anything. But as a brand from 3 years ago to what I am today, I'm thinking, what can I be in 3 years from now? And that's why we're starting to push everything together. And look at Barstool Sports with the sports book they opened up, and they're in Penn, Penn National Gaming buying them out, and they're gonna have a Barstool casino one day. Like, they're gonna have their own sports book. Like, that's Dave Portnoy thinking in his mind, how can I make this company bigger and better? On a smaller scale, people like to laugh at me like, oh, you think you're the next Dave Portnoy? Oh, you just want to be him. I do, because he has the blueprint of what a personality can hold in sports and become, because you're not tied down to anybody. You're your own entity, your own brand, your own company. I saw Dave Portnoy at Super Bowl 53, and I looked at him and I said, you left the Boston market wide open for a new personality to come in there and take it over. And that's what me and GRD are trying to do right now at a professional scale. We're learning. And now look at Dave Portnoy and what the Barstool brand has become. Maybe it's become too bigger than what he wanted it to be, but he's comfortable, he's making money, and he's having fun with it. So that's the vision of my goal. My goal, and I'm hoping this happens, Patrick, is I just want to. I'm gonna forever stay loyal to Boston. I just want to
Yeah.
stay in Boston. I'd love to just be on sports radio. I'd love to do
Mhm.
television and make a. I'm not here to be a millionaire. I just want to be a comfortable living, doing what I'm doing, having fun, but also having the creative freedom and control to do whatever content I want to do. I do it for the
Yeah.
fans. Even if it's cringeworthy or you will find it funny, I just do it for the fans. So let's get into the picks this week. Let's go down the line.
All right. I have them printed out here. So the first game on the list is Jaguars versus Dolphins. Who do you have there?
So that game already happened last night,
Oh.
and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It's all right. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't bet Thursday night games because
Yeah.
when I do the Babz parlay, I release them Saturdays now,
Mm-hmm.
or try to at least. Um, what was I gonna say? The Babz parlay. I had the Jaguars -3 and they got blown out. Like
Yeah.
I looked at
No,
that
I
and I was
had the
like, dude,
Jaguars in that game. I was
yeah,
about to say they win by 3, but
I think Gardner Minshew is trying his best to not have that team tank to get the number 1 pick
yeah,
because he wants to be the quarterback there. And I
he
think
should
Gardner
be.
Minshew is
I
some. I
believe in
think
him.
I believe in him too, and he's a marketable guy because he's likable.
Yeah.
People like him, and I think that with the whole like Uncle Rico type of thing he has, so I think that the Jaguars have something in Minshew. I mean, they should tank. I think they should grab a top pick, but they should stick with Minshew as their quarterback.
Yes, yeah. They should. Minshew has no help. They need O line, 100%. Their guards and tackles are terrible. They have Andrew Norwell, and their center, I believe, is Brandon Linder, and that's all I have on the line.
Yeah, it's like they depleted their whole team, and it looked like they're in tank mode, and Gardner Minshew is doing anything possible to not tank the season.
They have what 2, 3 first-round picks though.
Yeah, I mean they have the chance to build it back up. I mean the Jalen Ramsey trade, they got rid of him. I actually like just a quick Jaguar story. When I went down there for the Super Bowl 53 year,
Yeah.
and they was week 2 or something like that, I got to meet Mike Perkins, who's like the 5th most tenured person on the Jacksonville Jaguars, organization. His father used to be the offensive coordinator for the Patriots. I met him at the NFL draft. So like when I went down to Jacksonville, he like brought me in the stadium. He showed me the locker room, this and that. And he was talking. I got to see Tom Coughlin's office. I couldn't take pictures of anything, can't take videos because he was getting me in depths of like down there. It was cool, and we were talking and stuff. And that organization, they're not a bad organization. I mean, they've just never been good.
Yeah.
But I think with Tom Coughlin, I think he's still there. Tom Coughlin, like his job is pretty much like Ernie Adams. Like he's just like hides in the shadows.
Yeah.
I thought Tom Coughlin was a good coach for the Giants. I mean, he's won 2 Super Bowls with Eli Manning, and I just think that Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin, the way they want to run that organization, they want to run it like a Patriots organization. I met Doug Marrone. I think he's gonna. I think it's just gonna take them some time. You have to strike luck. I mean, look at they went to the AFC title game.
Yeah.
And they were there, and then
they nearly won it too.
Yeah, it just fell apart afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they're in their rebuilding process, but they know that they can make it back there and they can make a run.
Okay, well, that was a little oopsie for me with the Jaguars Dolphins.
That's all right.
Okay, so Browns at football team.
So, all right. So the Washington football team are technically the leaders in their division right now, 1-1. I don't think they're going to go anywhere this season, but I like Ron Rivera. I think he's a good head coach. So the spread's -7 in favor of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I have the Washington football team this week on my dogs of the day, which is just like straight up underdogs because the payout would be huge for $20. It'd be like an $8,000 payout. I think I'm going to pick them this week just because I think they can contain the rush of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, have Baker make the mistakes. And I think it's going to be coming down to coaching. I think they'll get coached to a win. I think Ron Rivera, if there's any team that blows this, it's going to be the Cleveland Browns. It's just what they are. They're one of the most overhyped teams last year, and they didn't even prove their worth. And again, I don't even think the Cleveland Browns are good enough to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think football team's gonna win here. That feels so weird to say. I'm so used to saying the Redskins. Um,
Cancel culture in America, baby. It's what it is right now.
well, now this
Everything's getting.
video is gonna be striked because I said the name.
I mean, it's just if Dan Snyder, who owns the Redskins or the Washington football team for that matter, is a piece of shit. So
Yeah.
I don't feel totally bad that this happened to him.
Hmm.
And it happened right before the season started. So like what are they supposed to do? I mean, they have to
Yeah.
trademark names, they have to register everything. So the word football team is so generic that they can just roll with it for one season.
Hmm.
And but again, Ron Rivera, I mean, they shocked. I mean, they shocked the Eagles week one. I mean, the
Yeah.
Eagles are trash, but they shocked the Eagles week one. They were down 17 points. They came back, won that game, and that's head coaching from Ron Rivera. And I think that he's he's going to start building a strong defense, and they'll figure their things out in offense. You give that Washington team at least 2 to 3 years to develop.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they become something with Ron Rivera.
I think everyone hates on Dwayne Haskins, but I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's gonna throw 300 yards against the Browns. I'm saying it now.
I don't know much about Dwayne Haskins, so I can't talk about him, but that's what I like to see, and I'll keep an eye on if they win this
Yeah.
game. Is how did he perform?
Yeah, because he has is Terry McLaurin playing? I
I'm
believe
not
so.
positive.
Huh?
I said I'm not positive. I don't
Oh,
know.
because Terry McLaurin's a beast. He's one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Okay, next game, Patriots Raiders. We talked a little bit about this.
Yeah, like again, it's a must win for both teams. Must
Yeah.
win for the Patriots. I just gotta. I'm never gonna. I'll pick against the Patriots once in a while, but I'm not picking them against the
Mhm.
Raiders. I'll take the Patriots.
Yeah. I'm taking the Patriots. I think Patriots are going to go more in a pass heavy direction rather than Cam Newton running the ball. James White's not back for this game, right? With what happened with his parents.
As of right now, no.
I
But we don't
totally
know till
understand.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. And no excuses. If they had James White last game, I think they would have. I think they would have did a little something different on the goal line.
Hmm.
I think having that extra pass, that pass catcher in the
Yeah.
backfield would have helped them out.
Yeah. So I have the Patriots. I think they're going to go more pass heavy. I see them winning by 10 points.
Yep, I have them. They're 5.5 over here right now. I have them, and
Hmm.
I think I have them in all my parlays, just money line. Like
Yeah.
I just feel like they're gonna win.
Okay. Next game is the Bills at the Rams. This is an interesting one.
This is a game I did not want to touch because, like
Oh.
you said, super interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think the Rams were fraudulent last year. I don't think they're fraudulent this year just yet. Um, this is a good test for the Buffalo Bills. Same thing with the Patriots playing the Raiders, but I think this is a good test for the Buffalo Bills to see if
Yeah.
they're a legitimate threat in the AFC East or not. Because they played the Jets and then they played the Dolphins
yeah.
like the first 2 weeks, and the Dolphins almost came back and won that game.
I mean,
I'm a big believer in Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think that team and in the coaching, and I mean they went to the playoffs the last 2 out of 3 years. I'm gonna pick the Bills in this game, and it's not a shocker. I mean they're favored, but I think that Babz always has this thing, and he does it once in a while, but I never pick a West Coast team playing on the East Coast at 1 o'clock because of the 3 hour difference.
yeah.
I think it screws these players up.
No, I have the Bills too. I think Josh Allen is gonna just play a good game. I'm not sure about the Bills defense right now. I believe Tre'Davious White opted out, so that could be difficult. Cooper Kupp might run crazy on them. I think it's gonna be a really close game, 3-point game in Bills' favor.
Vegas knows everything. That's why the line's at 2. So I think it's the same thing. It's a 3-point game.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, I'm really, yeah, this is an early game too, and I'm excited about this one. It's a Vikings Titans.
Minnesota Vikings, a playoff team last year that had a playoff win, already 0-2, and Kirk Cousins looks like booty. And it almost shows that they should have kept Stephon Diggs on that team so
Yeah.
far. I believe Mike Zimmerman or Mike Zimmer or whatever his name is, the
Yeah.
head coach. He's never gone 0-3 to start a season. The Titans team, I think they're pretty lucky to be 2-0, considering how they played against Denver week 1. I know Gostkowski missed a bunch of kicks that game, but
Yeah.
they still won the game. And then even the next week they played Jacksonville, and they won 35-30. They gave up a lot of yards to Gardner Minshew. This is a Kirk Cousins game to redeem himself as throwing the ball. So in my parlays, which we'll get to the Houston game in a little bit, but I swapped out I had Houston most of the week, and then I swapped them out because I like Minnesota this week. I have them on like a lot of my parlays because of the underdogs this week. Tennessee's favored by 3 points. So I'll take the Vikings money line because it helps you out with a payout. They're at home, although home field advantage makes no difference. They're inside their stadium. They're at home. This is a rebound. They have to win. It's a must win if you want to stay up with the Green Bay Packers as a contender in the NFC North.
Well, I'm going to disagree with your pick. I have the Titans. I don't think the Vikings will be able to stop Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry runs wild on them.
And just shout out to the Mike Vrabel and that team for what they did last year to have an AFC appearance, and then the next year already be 2-0 to start the season. That Titans team could be like a Jaguars where they just show up one year and then they disappear for a couple of years. It seems like they have at least something. And Tannehill's been playing really, really well so far to start the season.
No, so I think AJ Brown might do well, but I have Derrick Henry dominating the game. And that it's going to be a ground and pound. It's going to be a gritty game. I say low scoring, 20-17 or something, but it's going to be gritty. Ground heavy. Next game, Colts-Jets.
So the big thing I was wondering is the Colts going to cover the spread because it's 11.5 points right now. I think the Jets are such a bad team. They might be the worst team next to Detroit Lions this year. I think the Jets have absolutely nothing going for them.
Yeah.
I'm a Sam Darnold guy. I like Sam Darnold. I think
he's a bust.
So that's what we've been talking about on Boston's Big Three. I know Joe Stafford talked about that. I think him having mono last year and then I'm seeing ghost type of thing, kind of hurt his stock in the NFL. I think it was last week he had like a good running sidearm throw for a touchdown, but I think Sam Darnold has something. It's kind of like the Ryan Tannehill where he got lost in Miami and then went to Tennessee to be reborn again. I think Sam Darnold needs a change of scenery, maybe bringing in Trevor Lawrence and maybe tanking and then taking Sam Darnold and trading him away for a draft pick or something like that might be beneficial for the New York Jets. I mean, they just lost. I mean, they just lost Jamal Adams, dude. So it's like they have nothing on defense.
Terrible.
Le'Veon Bell is. I mean, that's a team where you might just start gutting it out. You know that you're not going to compete with the Patriots and you're not going to compete with the Patriots and Bills this year for the AFC East. Gut your team out and go to the draft and see if you can try to figure it out and build it long term.
I believe the Jets have 2 first-round picks. I believe they have a late first round, and then I think they'll be like 2 and 14. So I see them picking Lawrence in the with the first or whatever pick they have, and then trading away Sam Darnold to somewhere like let me just look at the team.
There'll definitely be a couple QB needy teams, and not even Sam Darnold has to be a starter. He could be a backup somewhere. Like I could see even dude, if the Patriots brought in Sam Darnold and then he just gets coached on a Belichick, watch him end up being something. It's just Sam Darnold will get picked up somewhere. He's definitely worth a backup spot to earn his right. Just like Jameis Winston. I think it's a travesty Jameis Winston's a backup this year. But I also think that maybe they have him in New Orleans as possibly the replacement for Drew Brees down the line.
Yeah. I'm saying Darnold goes to the Bears and replaces Trubisky and then Trubisky sits as a backup.
They screwed that one up and they got Nick Foles, and then Trubisky they're fraudulent 2-0 team, the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And that will blow up in their face later this season. I kind of like that. Sam Darnold's is gonna go somewhere eventually. Even maybe even Detroit. Like if Matt Stafford's career is kind of dwindling down.
No, but what's his name? Blow. He looked decent in the games. I know he lost most of them, but he did throw some good passes, and he has a good connection with Galladay, so that could be something. Well, we didn't even make picks, but obviously I think it's an easy one.
Yeah, Colts. It's Colts.
Yeah, Colts. I'm not even gonna get into score. It's Colts. Cardinals, Lions.
So we were talking about Marvin Jones Jr. possibly being a trade candidate.
Yeah.
The Lions, dude, Matt Patricia's got to be on the hot seat after this game. I mean, how much longer are you going to continue going with Matt Patricia as a head coach? I mean, this Cardinals team's going to get red hot soon. Starting off 2-0, I picked the Cardinals the first week. against San Fran. I mean, they won last week pretty much with ease.
Yeah.
They're 5.5-point favorites. I think they blow out the Lions. Kyler Murray is the real deal.
I'm a Kyler Murray believer. I have a jersey of his because I loved him at Oklahoma. So when he
That
came to the
addition
league,
of
I had to
DeAndre
order one.
Hopkins was so big, and they have both veteran leadership on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and young guys on that side as well too. I think they have a really great mix, and I think they're going to compete hard this year. I think they're bound to be a playoff team. Will they win the division? We'll see what happens with the Seahawks. We'll see what happens when those two match up with each other. But that team's getting on something. I easily pick them this week.
Yeah, same. I think Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins are just gonna. It's like arcade mode on Madden.
And they even still have Larry Fitzgerald, and that's what I'm talking about, having a veteran guy. Like, it's just like Larry Fitz. I believe he caught a touchdown last week, so it's just like he's still there. Like, he's still there.
The next game, Saints Packers. That's the Monday Night Football game.
No. Monday Night Football is Chiefs Ravens. We'll get in that in a little bit. Packers Saints Sunday Night Football.
True. Sorry, I'm looking at the German time.
You also got all your days confused over there overseas. The Green Bay Packers. I'm gonna pick them in this game. They're underdogs in this game. This is the second time I believe this season the Packers are underdogs because they're underdogs week 1. The Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation to me is Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo. It's they got Jordan Love because they are going to replace Aaron Rodgers, or the organization wants to get that fuel and light a fire under Aaron Rodgers' butt and say, hey, you need to start winning games. Like, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has the talent to do it. He's been banged up. Sometimes I think he lacks the motivation and heart that you'd see out of a Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And I think right now, Aaron Rodgers, I know Russell Wilson's like the clear-cut MVP, but like Aaron Rodgers has something to say about it too. I think that NFC between Arizona and Green Bay, the Saints are on their. I think the Saints might decline a little bit, but they're still going to be a scrappy team once Michael Thomas is healthy, and I think Drew Brees will figure it out. And then the Tampa Bay Bucks, like the Cardinals, I already said, the Seahawks. Like, there's some tough teams in the NFC that's going to be a crazy playoffs when that comes. But I'll pick the Packers this game.
Yeah, this is a big test for the Saints because they're 1-1. If they lose this, I don't know who they play next week, but that could be a bad situation. Maybe Drew Brees on the hot seat.
Yeah, he didn't look good against the Raiders the other night. And I mean, they have Alvin Kamara. Drew Brees can get things done, but to lose back-to-back on prime time is not a good look for the New Orleans Saints. But they could figure things out. It's still a long season.
I mean, Taysom Hill's still on the board. I love Taysom Hill. So I only recently found out he's nearly 30.
Yeah, I looked at him as a trade candidate. Like, he could be a piece that maybe the Saints trade away, but they like to use him. Like, it's the thing too, like gadget player. So I don't think he's your franchise quarterback. I think that's why they have Jameis Winston there, just as the possible next man up.
Yeah.
Because I think Brees retires after this year or next year. He's almost on his way out.
Yeah.
I look at but the Saints, man, like I wouldn't. I mean, they started 0-2 one year, and then they won every game after that. Like, just they go 1-2. It's not a big deal to New Orleans Saints. They'll figure it out. I just think in this game, Aaron Rodgers has something to prove to be another underdog and continue his quest on his MVP quest.
So I'm actually gonna take the Saints here. It's a must-win. I think the Saints are gonna come in with a lot of drive. I know it's at Lambeau Field, but I think the Saints win this one in another gritty game. The next game is Giants at 49ers.
Giants at 49ers. So Giants, I've picked them 2 straight weeks in a row on the Babz parlays. The first week they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I thought Daniel Jones didn't look that bad. I think they didn't look bad as a whole team. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he got picked off in the end zone, and just the steel curtain kind of just ran him over. But they held their own in that game against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh looks like a legitimate team right now.
Yeah.
At the same time, the last week they were down 17-0 against the Bears, and they came down to like a final play, throw to the end zone. It was a miss. They're almost there. They're catching a 49ers team that's completely banged up. They don't have Nick Bosa on defense. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be out for the season. Not out for the season. He's going to be out for this game, most likely.
Nick Bosa's out for the season, though.
Yeah, Nick Bosa's out for the season. Jimmy Garoppolo's out for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. Again, another team. another team that's on the West Coast that's coming to the East Coast and playing a 1:00 game. Uh, Joe Judge, the new head coach over there to the Giants, like he's got to get his first win as a head coach. Daniel
Yeah.
Jones has to get a win as for his 2020 season. I think this is a game that you at least catch you catch a 49ers team off guard. Now here's another thing too. I know Saquon Barkley's out, which for the season, which absolutely hurts the Giants, but
Yeah.
they signed Devontae Freeman this week, and Devontae Freeman was left high and dry for the entire league. I thought Devontae Freeman wasn't a bad running back for the Atlanta Falcons. So he's got a little chip on his shoulder and something to prove with some fresh legs against this defense of 49ers. So I'm picking the Giants this week, and I'm picking a money line. I think they're a great ad for anybody that wants to try to make some extra money on a parlay.
I'm also picking the Giants. I think just the defense for the Niners is so banged up, and the 49ers are starting, I believe, it's Nick Mullins at QB. I think he'll be picked off quite a few times.
I mean, I also look at it as a Super Bowl hangover, and I don't even think the 49ers were going to make it to the Super Bowl this year. That's why I had them losing that first game anyways. I was like, Super Bowl hangover. Like, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to end up being their guy long term.
The next game is Eagles-Bengals.
Eagles-Bengals. I made a joke I already filmed the parlay of the week videos, but I made a complete joke, and I said that Philadelphia made the best decision this year by not letting any fans in no matter what, because they're about to get embarrassed by Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I will keep picking the Bengals every week until Joe Burrow gets his first win. I have the Bengals in both my 10-team Hail Mary this week, and I have them in my Dogs of the Day. I think the Bengals, so in the gambling world right now, the Eagles are favored -4.5. Just if you don't even believe in the Bengals, take the Bengals +4.5, because the last 2 weeks with Joe Burrow, they've covered the spread both times.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow should have won week 1 when he threw a touchdown to A.J. Green. It was offensive pass interference. They kicked a field goal, and they lose the game. It should have went to overtime. Last week against the Cleveland Browns, it was that Thursday night game. So that short week. And Joe Burrow held them together in that game, started making a comeback, and it just fell again. It fell short. I think Joe Burrow finally gets his first win.
Yeah,
I think the Eagles team is just not good. Carson Wentz, and I was saying this as a joke, is that the best decision is not letting fans in there, because if fans were allowed to be in there and this Eagles team started 0-3, they would be having fights in the stands. They'd be throwing trash on the field. They'd be flipping cars in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's how upset they would be, especially losing to a Bengals team. And no discredit to the Bengals. I mean, they were the worst team last year because they got Joe Burrow, but they have pieces to win games. I'm not saying that the Bengals are an immediate playoff team, but they're not going to roll over. They have to win games this season, and I think that this is a game that they win.
I also have the Bengals. I'm so confident in Joe Burrow. I actually picked him up on my fantasy team. I'm starting him over Daniel Jones because I got auto-drafted.
I think especially the way the Eagles have played the last 2 weeks, you can kind of see let's roll with the dice with Joe Burrow this week. I like that little. He might be a great if you do DraftKings and fantasy lineups. I don't do those very often, but I think he'd probably be the best ad this week because you get him on a cheap price.
Yeah, I actually picked him up in free agency this week. I was shocked that he was still available, but he has 17 points projected in the ESPN Fantasy Football app.
I'm going to do this after I get off this podcast. I'm going to pick him up in one of my leagues and start him 100%, just because you're starting him too. We're going to go on the Joe Burrow hype train.
Joe Burrow hype train, I like that. Next game, Falcons-Bears.
So last week, I had on the Babz parlay of the week, it was 20 to 1 in 1,000. I had the Patriots on it, and they obviously lost. But I hit on everything else. But I did have the Atlanta Falcons on most of my parlays last week. I was like, the Atlanta Falcons are playing the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are not a good team. They didn't look good in week 1. I cannot believe they blew that 20-point lead to the Dallas Cowboys. And I watched, I felt like a Falcons fan for the first time. I'm like, how the hell did they deal with 28-3 if I had to watch a regular season week 2 game? Again, I talked about it earlier. The Bears are a fraudulent 2-0 team.
Yeah.
They should have lost to the Lions week 1, I believe. And last week they should have lost to the Giants. They're not a good team. Somehow, some way, I'm sure the Bears will. I'm not picking them, but I'm sure the Bears will go 3-0. But I'm picking the Falcons this week. You're 0-2 to start your season, and this is it for Matt Ryan. This is it for your franchise. If you go 0-3 to start the season, it's time to rip it apart. And we talked the rumors of Julio Jones to the Patriots, possibly. They love Julio in Atlanta. I've had people from Atlanta follow me. They're saying they'll never go Julio.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see Julio come to the New England Patriots and revitalize his career. That Matt Ryan type of team is a team that might never rebound from what they're doing from Super Bowl 51.
Sorry, my camera died.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Wait, let me just switch my camera. There, it's a bit worse and it's a bit lower, but
That's fine.
it works. Just for, I mean, we have like 10, 20 minutes left.
What's that? I don't know what it is. We'll find out.
Oh, this camera's so much worse. Okay. Yeah, I've got the Falcons. It's a must win. Matt Ryan will play all right, but I think, yeah, I just have the Falcons. They have to win. Otherwise, the season's over for them.
That team implodes. Like that team after Super Bowl 51, like they could never recover after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then just last week, man, if you lose 2 straight weeks, especially the way you lost in week 2, that's done. Your season's over. You implode. Yeah. You start imploding that team, and it stinks because you got a guy like Calvin Ridley who looks great. He's like the new number 1 wide receiver. I put him over Julio Jones, and I just think that the offense should be able to take down the Bears. They should be able to do this. So I got the Atlanta Falcons on all my slips this week. Do not let me down.
The next game, Steelers-Texans, and you said you have something to say about the Texans, didn't you?
Yeah, so, like, I have multiple parlays this week, and Houston was, like, my pick, and then I actually sold myself into Minnesota instead. The Houston Texans, they had to play the Chiefs, and they had to play the Ravens the first 2 games, so you can't discredit that. And now they're going against a 2-0 Steelers team. And I look at this Houston team, I look at the Pittsburgh team first and say, they have a great defense. You got the Watt brothers going against each other. But they almost lost the Denver Broncos last week, who are just hurting all around. Driscoll, the quarterback that came in for Locke, like looked pretty good. Yeah. So I look at Deshaun Watson, it's just like, this game's on you. And it sucks they don't have DeAndre Hopkins. This might show that why did we get rid of DeAndre Hopkins in the first place? And I know it's the whole contract thing and this and that. When I look at Houston Texans, and I have them in a couple parlays, I'm going to put them in my dogs of the day, and I'm going to pick them because when they do lose this game, because they probably will, but I'm still picking them. When do you put Bill O'Brien on the hot seat? Because that guy should have been.
Bill O'Brien's got to go.
He's got to go. And again, you play the Chiefs and Ravens, so you give him an excuse. You play the Steelers, you could probably give him an excuse again. I don't know who they're playing in week 4, but like he's got to be on that hot seat if they lose this game. 100%. So I'll still pick them. I think they'll make an upset. It's another 0-2 team that is a must-win territory. You can't start 0-3, and they have to pull it out. Deshaun Watson's going to have to pull it out. Deshaun Watson, I believe, is a free agent coming up or whatever. And
he just got paid. He just got paid.
Oh, he just got paid. Well, he's got to prove he's worth that money. Just like Dak Prescott proved that he's worth the money he wants. You got to prove it. You got to prove it. So. Yeah,
I'm also taking the Texans. I think Brandon Cooks has his first good game of the season.
If the Houston Texans, you're picking the Houston Texans, and I like it. You're confident.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans win my parlay, I'll be Venmoing you some money. I'll give you a little something. I'll give you a little something because like I need that good vibes. I took them. I have them on some of my parlays, and I don't have them on some of my parlays. Yeah. I just want to hit on all my parlays this week.
Next game is Chargers-Panthers.
So crazy about Tyrod Taylor and the whole medicine doctor thing.
Did he get fired? Did the doctor get fired?
I have no idea. They said they were looking into it. I went into the combine with Joe Stafford, Tua and Joe Burrow did not participate at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert looked like the best quarterback possible at that combine. We both loved him, and we both agreed that Justin Herbert was eventually going to start for the Chargers at some point. Tyrod Taylor's not your starter the entire season. We didn't think it was going to be that quick. Justin Herbert should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. He should have beat them. That would have been a statement win. When you look at the Panthers, they don't have Christian McCaffrey. Teddy Bridgewater might not be your quarterback. That's going to lead you to wins. I think that Panthers team, unfortunately, I think they take an L here. I think the 6.5 points is a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think they cover that. But I will say that the Chargers do win. I think Justin Herbert gets his first official NFL win.
Yeah.
And Justin Herbert might go on a run now, even though he lost to Kansas City, but he might go on a little small run as a possible candidate for Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm. No, I have if Christian McCaffrey were healthy, I would take Panthers. 100%.
I agree.
But let's see. I mean, Panthers, they have Brian Burns on defense. Who else?
Nobody. I think it's just Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. This is a team that this is a team that offensively you should be scoring points on.
Yeah.
Against the Panthers, you should be scoring a lot of points on them.
I say Chargers by 10.
And the fact that you kept Kansas City to 23 points or whatever, you should be proud of your defense to do that against Kansas City.
Yeah, exactly. Next game, Seahawks Cowboys.
Great game. This is the great test for the Cowboys to see if they're a legitimate team. They should be 0-2. They should 100% be an 0-2. Russell Wilson might throw 5 touchdowns on them. I think this is just they're gonna now. The Seahawks are a little banged up on defense. They've lost a couple players there. So I think it's a high-scoring game. I believe the over-under was 56 or 57. It was very high. I think that it's going to come down to Dak versus Russell Wilson, who's going to make more plays offensively. And I think it's Russell Wilson. I think maybe, and this is a bold take. I think the Seahawks will only punt once in this entire game. I think that every time they touch the ball, they're scoring. Whether it's a field goal or an offensive touchdown, they're scoring every single time. There should be a confident win for the Seahawks to go there offensively and win this game. I'm picking them, and I'm taking the spread as well too. 4.5 right now.
I have the Seahawks blowing out the Cowboys.
I wanted the Cowboys to lose so bad last week.
Same.
And it just gives Jerry Jones hope. Dak Prescott's the savior and everything, but I think they're gonna get blown out by Seattle.
Yeah.
And it'll just show that the Cowboys are just not gonna be a playoff, good playoff. They might sneak in maybe, but they're not gonna be a playoff.
Especially with the new 7-team or whatever playoffs.
Yeah. They might sneak in as a 7-team. That's the thing, but they'll get blown out.
8-8 or whatever they will be. The next game is Broncos Buccaneers.
Again, this is a great test of Tom Brady. He was playing in Denver. He always struggles in Denver. We've said it so many times already that the Broncos do not have anything good going for them. This is a great statement game. I think Gronkowski gets his first touchdown of the season. I think that is Mike Evans still out for the Bucs. I don't know anything about that.
I'll check that.
All right, but
my friend has him in fantasy.
I mean, it's going to take a couple games for Tom Brady to get used with his weapons. This is the game that you absolutely explode all over the Denver Broncos. I'm going to pick the Tampa Bay Bucs. I'm not supporting the Tampa Bay Bucs. I hope they lose this game, but I'm picking them, and I have them on all my parlays this week. And I think that they're going to completely blow out the Broncos.
Yeah. Well, actually, I disagree. I think the Broncos are going to catch the Buccaneers off guard. I mean, winning. That's
the upset of the week if that happens. And as I said, Tom Brady's play, if you look at his stat line, it's not great. He's a game manager. He's been making mistakes. He makes a lot of mistakes recently, but this is the game that you have to go into with the Tom Brady mindset of all right, we got our first victory last week. We need to blow the doors off of Denver. We need to show the league that we're legitimate because there's more legitimate teams right now than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. No, I just checked. Mike Evans is the wide receiver 1 for week 3.
Perfect. So he's back. He's probably a little bit rested. That's Tom Brady's weapon. He'll catch a touchdown.
I'm still taking the Broncos. I think Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons are.
I'll wait for your DM on Sunday or Monday morning or whatever when you're just I told you so. I told you the Broncos would win.
Obviously the final game, Ravens Chiefs. This is a big one. This decides the AFC champion team.
Yeah, it's a complete coin flip. It's Lamar Jackson versus Pat Mahomes, and I'm gonna take. I think I took Kansas City like when we did this in Boston's Big Three,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I'm just gonna take. You can't go against John Harbaugh. Like you can't go against Baltimore. It's such a tough game. Um, I believe I said Kansas City, so I'm gonna have to stick with that pick so I don't sound like a flip flopper hypocrite. And I'll just pick Kansas City just because of Pat Mahomes last week. I think Pat Mahomes keeps them in the game, and Pat Mahomes shows that he's not a fluke. I mean, he was an MVP. He won a Super Bowl last year, and I think this is the highest scoring game. It's like I just want these teams to beat up on each other because the Patriots play Kansas City week 4, and I would love Kansas City to lose this game, but I'd rather see Baltimore lose now, and then you end up as the Patriots, you play Kansas City after getting a victory, meaning that this is how the standings would work. Baltimore gets a loss. So they have one loss. If the Patriots win against the Raiders, and then the following week you beat Kansas City, you'd own the tiebreaker over Kansas City. Yeah. So you'd have the same record. So you're over them. And then because Kansas City beat Baltimore, I believe you'd have the tiebreaker over Baltimore. So that's like it just in my mindset, I'm looking at because the 1 seed's so important. That's what you kind of need. So I'd rather see Baltimore lose now because then when the Patriots play Baltimore down the line, you will have another advantage over them for another tiebreaker when you have that game advantage on them. So I think that's the Babz delusional logic.
I have the Ravens in a ground and pound. Ingram and Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins. Don't underrate J.K. Dobbins in a 2 running back shotgun set.
There's no right or wrong answer to this game. And Monday Night Football should be excited that they have these two teams playing each other because it should be an instant classic. I believe, was it 2 years ago, Super Bowl 53 year, it was Kansas City. And was it the Rams or something like that? Kansas City Rams, like whatever. It was the high scoring, I see
the same thing happening, like 50 or something.
Yeah, something insane. Crazy, over 100 points or something like that. So let me actually look right now because the over-under. So Baltimore's favored by 3, and the over-under is 54 points. I think you smashed the over. I think it's the over in that one. So 54 points is pretty much saying it's going to be a 28 to 24 game. So what's that? That's 50. That's right there. So it's going to be over that. It's going to be like 30 something to 30 something. It's going to be 40 something to 30 something. It's going to be high scoring.
I agree, but I picked
because this is the thing that I'm seeing, Pat, is that the Ravens are going to score every opportunity. The Kansas City doesn't really have a great defense. Everyone's banged up. That's why Pat Mahomes has to keep scoring, and Pat Mahomes has to keep making plays. That's why I think the over will happen.
Yeah. So obviously I have no more game picks. I have a couple points, but they're mostly about best whatever ever. So I have positions, and we can take our picks for the best positions to close out the thing. You want to do that?
What are we doing? I'm sorry, I was looking at my phone.
So by position, best best cornerback, best safety bet ever, best linebacker in
New England Patriot history?
No, NFL history.
NFL history? Oh boy, I don't know if I can do this because listen. When it comes to the X's and O's of games, Babz is I'm just a super fan. I'm pretty casual and stuff like that when it comes to names. And I am not, and I will tell you, I'm not the biggest. I'm a big Patriots fan. That's my thing. And I love football, but when it comes down to names, positions, and all that stuff, I will not win in any debates. I will not know what to talk about. I would not even know who to pick. In terms of the history of the NFL and stuff like that. So I'll be completely upfront and honest. It'd probably be the worst conversation you're about to get into if it comes down to me. I couldn't tell you also the game always evolves. The game when passing, how the run game goes. Now it's more of a mobile quarterback game. Even on defense, Ty Law was one of those guys that would get up on the line, throw you down, no penalties would be made. I mean, it's the Ty Law rule. Now there's can't touch people within 5 yards. You have to give them some space, or whatever. After 5 yards, when it comes down to these conversations, I can get schooled pretty easily. With football history, but that's cool. I'm onto Vegas Raiders. I just care about this week.
Well, actually, I had this interesting question. I think I tweeted it, but what if Lawrence Taylor, so Giants linebacker legend, played in today's game? Do you think
So
for one season, how do you think he'd do? What do you think his
he
stats would be like?
I mean, I think it comes down to coaching too. I mean, the
Mm,
player itself and coaching around it. Because a lot of people don't realize is that Belichick got to coach him. Belichick always talks about Lawrence Taylor. He
yeah,
always talks about how great he was. And that's the reason why the Giants won Super Bowl, because of the defense.
yeah,
And Belichick won 2 of them. And not a lot of people realize that Belichick is not a 6-time champion, he's an 8-time champion.
yeah.
And he's got as a coach, like a defensive coordinator. Uh, um, I think Lawrence Taylor is one of those once in a generational players that can play in today's era. Just like
Yeah.
basketball terms, if LeBron James could play back in the 90s
Mm-hmm.
and LeBron James could play back in the 80s, he's just a freak of nature. He would
Yeah.
absolutely be in that league and dominate. I think maybe things would be a little bit different because of today's day and age, the way you certain play calls,
Yeah.
things that you have to do. Like Michael Irvin, for instance, like that guy would probably party his ass off and then just show up and play like the
The
next day.
cocaine cowboy.
Yeah, like, and it's just you wouldn't see that in today's age. Would that have affected his play because he doesn't do coke?
Yeah.
like we don't know. But like a Michael Irvin would be somebody that could come into the league and still play at a high
Yeah.
caliber with what it is, especially in a passing league the way it is today. I think he could
Mm-hmm.
absolutely do that. I think it's more. I think the older players, like an Emmett Smith,
Mm,
even O.J. Simpson, like a lot of these guys that were somebody's. Even Ben Coates was like one of the top tight ends.
yeah.
And back then, like when things were happening, could come into the league now and dominate. It's just could these players that are playing now go back 30 years and play in that league the way they are? Maybe not because of the way the play style is and the way that things are. But then again, that's how the generations keep moving and
Yeah.
how things evolve. So um, I've always hard to discuss whether players or not can
Yeah.
play or not. It's just every generation's just different. I mean, it's crazy to see Tom Brady still playing in
Mm-hmm.
2 different generations of football almost and still playing at not a high caliber, but he's still an above average quarterback compared to
Yeah.
the rest of the league. But you can see how the league's shifting. I mean, look at like how the mobile quarterback, look at Cam Newton and
Yeah.
what he could do with the Patriots now. It's like, it's something completely different the Patriots haven't had in the last 20 years. I mean, Tom Brady's never been a mobile quarterback. And it's been almost over, I would say, 4 years since you've had a real gunslinger that can throw the ball down the field like darts like that. Brady can still do it, but he doesn't do it a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just like you can. It's just been the game's changing, and I'm glad that the Patriots are seeing that,
Mm-hmm.
and Belichick has seen that. And even though that they've been winning still in between that, he knows he's getting ready for that new wave, that new era in
Yeah.
football in 2020.
Do you think Barry Sanders would be good? I think he's good in any
Yeah,
generation.
yeah. Barry Sanders, like there's that whole list of those top tens on like any position, like they could play in any
Yeah.
generation and it absolutely kill it. Like another one, Otto Graham. Like Otto
Mm-hmm.
Graham was the original freaking quarterback for the Cleveland Browns back in the day when it was the NFL championships, the pre-Super Bowl era. And
Yeah.
he was like the Tom Brady back then. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and leagues are different. Like when I went to college, I took a class in football. It was the teacher was Ron Borges. Ron Borges is, I believe he's from like the Boston Globe or something like that. He's a reporter. And it was cool because I had to read a couple books about the history of football, and it really opens up about how the game used to be
Yeah.
played. Like back when the NFL first started, like college football existed, and college football was always the greatest thing. And how even back in the like I'm talking about the early 1900s, like they would punt on second down or third down.
Yeah.
Like it was a game of position. It wasn't even like
Yeah.
the passing never even existed. It was always running and
It's
punting. Like
it's
just
like rugby. The way
yeah.
they realize they don't have the ball, so they just kick it downfield.
Yeah, like, oh, we're in a bad spot. Like, let's say it's 1st and 10 on your own 15. You're like, let's just punt it. Like, let's just punt it
Yeah.
right back and like we'll just keep
It's
going
like
back and
Madden.
forth for field position.
Just
I want Belichick to do that on a third. Like Belichick's the guy who like studies and knows the history of the game, and I want Belichick to pull out some crazy shit before he hangs them up. And let me
how
tell you
long?
something about Belichick. You were about to ask how long he's going to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Belichick is not leaving. So Belichick is 62 years old or 63.
Yeah.
Belichick is literally coaching until one, I think he wins another Super Bowl without Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Number two, passes Don Shula in regular season wins.
How far away is he from that?
So if you do the math, he needs 12 wins over the next 4 seasons to even tie him. So that gives,
that's doable. That's so doable.
and it's doable. It's doable because I don't get why these people are saying when they lose Tom Brady, the Patriots are done. It's over with. It's the coaching system. So again, going back 2 hours ago when we talked about it, we're going back to the Jaguars. Mike Perkins. He goes, the Patriots are a system, right? Everyone knows the system quarterback. Tom Brady's a system quarterback. And then fans would get so upset. Every team is a system. It's the Belichick system, and the system works. And it's not just Belichick, it's the coaches he puts around him. And look what happens to those coaches when they leave. They all suck kind of on their own. They all don't really succeed that much on their own. But you can also say it's the coaching system of Bill Parcells, because that's where Belichick came from. And some of the coaches under Parcells and some of the coaching, like if you look at the coaching tree around there, some of those became great coaches in the NFL. So then there's some ties, like Pete Carroll, like there's ties and stuff like that. But in the Belichick system, I think Belichick makes these coaches who they are. But Belichick is also a great coach that he knows that once they leave the system, they can't mimic what happens in New England.
Yeah.
Sean McVay even gave him credit before Super Bowl 53 and says, you can change up your play style anytime you want. And Belichick also, Belichick's not tanking. Belichick is not here wasting one single year to lose 12 games because he knows that he's at the not end of his career because he's a coach. It doesn't affect his body. But as you age and you get older, your time clock is ticking. Yeah. I'm sure he eats a little bit healthier now. He does his jogging and stuff like that. I see Bill Belichick. I see Josh McDaniels. I think Josh McDaniels is still young enough that eventually he'll become the head coach. I think Josh McDaniels will be a transition head coach. I see his son, Steve Belichick, becoming a head coach probably in about 13 years or something like that, 10 to 13 years. But Bill Belichick, once he hits that mark, so it's 5 years from now. Let's say 5 years from now, he passes Don Shula. 5 years from now, this is going to be a completely different New England team. But they're still going to be there. They're still going to be at the top as long as he's around. I will say that Robert Kraft might not be around by the time Belichick is. I think Belichick will be on the team longer than Kraft lives. I think Kraft is on his way out. No offense, done taken. It's just that I've seen him in person lately. He's just barely kicking. Like he's there. I met him down at the Super Bowl. Well, no, it goes right down to Jonathan Kraft, and I think the Kraft group. I think Jonathan Kraft is doing the day-to-day operations, anyways. I think Jonathan Kraft is a very smart man too. And Robert Kraft was the visionary to get that team to where it is now. And Jonathan, I think, has taken the reins over and has proven it as a son. And as long as Belichick's around and they have that system, that when Belichick leaves, he's not leaving to go to another team. I think Belichick will still have a say. I think Belichick will retire as a head coach, but then take over like as a GM because Belichick is both a coach and GM. So Belichick could become a scout. Belichick's going to always be involved in the game of football till he's dead. Until he drops dead. And I look at the same thing with Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin left the Giants organization, and there could have been something with the owner and Tom Coughlin that they didn't see eye to eye with. And Tom Coughlin, they made a position up for Tom Coughlin in Jacksonville, like director of football operations. Like they just gave him a job. Like, and they said, just study football. I saw his office. It was cool. You walk into Tom Coughlin's office. I got to see it. Like I wish I took pictures. It's an office. Regular office, with chairs, a bunch of memorabilia. You go behind his chair, open up, and it's another room. And it's this big screen TV with like a couple couches, and it's his game film room. And I saw that, and I'm like, that's probably what Belichick will get in New England, like because of his relationship with Kraft. I mean, I think that there was some difficulty between Brady, Belichick, and Kraft, and they dealt with it. Time heals all wounds. Belichick isn't going anywhere. I mean, they obviously stuck with Belichick. It's not like they forced him out and they stuck with Brady. This time's time. But that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that if Josh McDaniels becomes a head coach, I think Belichick stays as a GM or has some sort of capacity role in the Patriots between his ages of 70 to 80. Like I'm saying that Belichick is staying here for another 20 years. Like that's just but he doesn't have to coach. He doesn't have to do the day-to-day operations. He can work from home. He can just work from the stadium. It gets him when people retire, when they get retired, and I've seen it like from an older generation. Some people just want to retire and do nothing. Other people hate retirement because there's nothing to do. Football is in his blood. His kids are older. He's with Linda Holiday. They're not officially married or anything like that, but like she knows it. It's just football. That's his business.
Mm-hmm.
A hot take that was given to me by an Uber driver like a year ago was that Bill Belichick will leave the New England Patriots when the time comes and go coach at Army or go coach at Navy or whatever. Coach, maybe it was Army, and follow in his father's footsteps because I believe his father coached at Army or Navy, one of the schools. I think it's Army. I think he coached there, and I think he wants to follow in his father's footsteps because Belichick has the pride and tradition of the military. And I think that it would be interesting to see Belichick coach there for 1 or 2 years just to have it under his belt, just to say he did it. But I think and maybe step away from the NFL for a year or two. But I think he'll always have a role with the New England Patriots. There's no retirement ceremony for Belichick. There's not going to be the thing where he gets pushed out. There's never going to be Belichick's team goes 5-11. They're going to figure it out. I mean, they took Matt Castle. Well, they're coming off a 2007 undefeated season. I mean, Matt Castle went 11-5. They didn't have Tom Brady those first 4 games in 2016. They went 3-1, and that fourth game they lost is because they had no quarterback. Edelman was the quarterback that game. It was like they had to run the entire game. So I look at what they've already done with Cam Newton. They went 1-0, and they almost won that other game against Seattle. So he's 1-1. That you can say, well, Belichick went 5-11 with Drew Bledsoe in 2000. That's because he just took the team over. That was his first year as a head coach.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick went to Robert Kraft and he told him, he said, here is my 5-year plan. We will win a Super Bowl. He got pretty lucky to be able to adopt some of the players that were under Pete Carroll and Parcells from that defense that helped win them those Super Bowls. And he got lucky to even draft Tom Brady and that fall into his lap and it become what it became and build that legend. But you have to give, so even if you take away those first 3 Super Bowls, because that's pretty much that was built for Parcells, Pete Carroll, take away those 3, Belichick still won 3. He still went to 3, 4, 5. He went to 5.
3 with the Patriots.
Yeah, he won. Like, if you don't want to count that first half of the history and want to be like, you want to discredit, Belichick still won 3. Like, he still made these teams. He still made these teams relevant. They're still playoff teams. They went to 10 straight like AFC title games. It's like you can't. That it comes to coaching, it's players, it's grit, it's grind, and I think that if Josh McDaniels stays, I think it was a Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniels who's going to take over, and Josh McDaniels went off on his own and he did it, and he won a playoff game, and he got Tebow, and then I think he beat the Patriots in a regular season game, and Matt Patricia's now doing it. I think McDaniels is like saying like, I could be a head coach somewhere, or I could stick with this organization, just stay it out. I have a home here. I have kids here. I'll wait. I'll be a transition head coach. I could be a head coach for so many years, and then maybe Bill Belichick's son takes over. I really just, as a Pats bias fan, hope that just happens. They could really honestly run the league for the next 40 years. Like, and have multiple, will they win multiple Super Bowls? Maybe not because of Tom Brady. Can they get to Super Bowls? I think absolutely. The league's always changing. Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to tie themselves into cap hell because of that new deal that he got. Lamar Jackson, when he gets his deal, think about how much that's going to be worth. And I give respect to John Harbaugh because I think the Harbaugh family is a good coaching system as well too. Good coaches right there. And I think Andy Reid's a great coach as well too. He's give him a shout out. He's got a lot of wins under his belt too. But I just think that Belichick has always been great in the salary cap era. Yeah. Because he ain't paying, like we were talking about this about Cam Newton. He ain't paying Cam Newton $30 million a year. He's not tying Cam Newton down to all this money. He'll go to Jarrett Stidham and he'll make Stidham the starter. He was comfortable enough to not draft a quarterback and go with Stidham because any other team could have paid Cam Newton and took him. And then we would have been stuck with Stidham. And I'm sure Belichick would have figured a way for Stidham to get 10 wins. Like he would have figured that out. Or he would have made a move to make sure that it happens, like offensively or defensively. So I just think that this Patriots team, Bill, I know I'm ranting and raving, but I just think that how could you say that Bill Belichick's just going to ultimately retire? He's a coach. Unless he has like some sort of serious health condition that happens to him, he's never leaving. This makes him live through it. Yeah, never, knock on wood. He's never leaving. I don't think the Kraft family has ever. They probably pissed him off a few times over his tenure. It happens. He's employed by the New England Patriots, and Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft are signing his checks at the end of the day. But I think now that the Brady era is over and it's the new era, I think that Kraft is just given whatever he wants. I mean, Belichick's just given whatever he wants to be given, and he's just going to be sticking it around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Belichick has a lot to prove now in the new era of Patriots Nation that I think he needs to win it. I mean, he proved it as a defensive coordinator. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. It's like everyone forgets about the 80s. And then he went off on his own. He gave Cleveland Browns their last winning season. Like it was him as a head coach back in the 90s. So he had a winning season. And he started developing it. Now that he has this in New England, he has a system packed down. It's like the formula is always going to work. It's going to always at least get you there.
Yeah.
Will it win you those important games? Maybe not. Like Tom Brady won you some of those important games. I've always said Bill Belichick's the coach to give you 10 wins. Brady's always the guy that's going to give you those 12 wins. He'll give you those 2 extra wins. Belichick's the coach that get you those AFC title games and or Super Bowls. Tom Brady's the playoff wins. Like it's just that's how it worked in my mind all these years. They needed each other. And hopefully Belichick can develop and find that new guy. I mean, look at Jimmy Garoppolo. He developed Jimmy Garoppolo. And if he got to keep Jimmy Garoppolo when he wanted to, Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl. You can't discredit that one. Now, he had an awful playoff run, but maybe under Bill Belichick, if they had Jimmy Garoppolo last year, would Jimmy Garoppolo have led that team to a Super Bowl? Maybe even without Antonio Brown, maybe. Because that defense held that team so many times, the other team down so many times, the offense couldn't get anything going. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo could have got something going because he's younger. And I think that last year proved to maybe 2 years ago, Brady proved to Belichick and Kraft he was worth it. And then last year proved that Belichick to those guys was like, no, we should have kept Jimmy. So it's a wash at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But Belichick's here for good, long term. Like I'm talking another 20 years. That's a hot take, I think. I think
it's a very hot take.
40-year tenure with the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, like Ernie Adams. I mean, like Ernie Adams is the guy upstairs that no one talks about. He's like the football operations guy that does all the X's and O's and gets all these plays down and stuff. I'm sure Belichick's going to be given a secret position at some point when he's done with the head coaching.
I have no more topics, and when I set the Zoom meeting up, I set it for 2.5 hours, thinking we'd go for like 40 minutes to an hour, and we have 15 minutes left.
I know it's crazy. I was actually supposed to do something else, and I completely I'm sure that person's super mad at me. No, I don't really have much else to say. I mean, 2.5 hours, we could talk all day. I appreciate you having me come on. Appreciate you taking the time to do this. Like I say to you, like, just keep grinding it out, like keep doing things. Maybe I'll try to hop on like a couple months down the road or something like that.
Definitely,
as an update when we can talk about the Patriots, like maybe went towards playoff time or something would be pretty cool. Just keep kind of grinding and doing your thing, dude. And
I'll keep you updated with everything I'm doing. I'm gonna
just tell your parents I said hello. Tell them I thank you so much for having this, be able to help us out. And we'll see what the Patriots are like the next time we talk. I mean, I think right now, let me pull up the schedule on my phone here. I got a nice little background, but I mean, so again, the no fans, like it hurts and helps the Patriots. I think the back half of the schedule, I mean, they have to still look at these teams they have to play. And San Fran, they could catch San Fran off guard, so they should beat them. But you have to play them. You have to play Buffalo twice. You have to play the Ravens at Houston. By the time it's week 11, Bill O'Brien might not even have a job, and that team could be absolutely implode. You have to play the Cardinals, but you're at home, but still it's the Cardinals. You're playing the Rams. You play the Chargers. Like you still play the Raiders and Chiefs. Like you have a lot of tough games on the schedule. And I still think they can manage, depending on how the stretch of games goes the next 2 or 3. I think they manage to at least go 11-5, 12-4. I always stick at 12-4. 12-4 is right now. You're still feeling things out. Still early in the season. They had no preseason even. And I think if they had a preseason, 4 games, Cam Newton would be the starter week 1. He would have beat Stidham out. It would have showed it in preseason. That's why I was always about the Stidham starting week 1, because there was no preseason. They're treating this like preseason. But every game matters, and Belichick knows that, because there's only one bye week now. There's only one seed gets the bye. and Patriots rarely played on wild card weekend. And I think they're like 0-2 or 0-3 on wild card weekend. They don't
Yeah.
play. They like to use that extra bye. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for coming on. I mean, I was so excited all week in the back of my head and all my classes. I'm talking to Babz. I'm talking to Babz. I'm talking to Babz this weekend. I was so excited. So I'm so glad this happened. I'm so glad it went for this long.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking. Good luck editing all this, and stuff. I want to talk about the Conor McGregor poster in the background. You a big fan of him?
Yeah, well, because wait, I can turn my finger on. I'm part Irish. Oh, that's.
Oh, all right. Part Irish. There you go.
Irish, part American.
Well, it makes sense. Massachusetts ties.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, because like I'm not big into like MMA. I'm like casual,
Mm-hmm.
and same thing with boxing. I watch the Floyd Mayweathers. I watch the Conor McGregor fights. Like I watch all that stuff. I think my GRD went to Conor McGregor's like one of his fights last year, or something like that. And when he won, he got to go do an after party and stuff like that. I think Conor McGregor first really got his name going when he was in Boston. I think they had a UFC event here. It was like the first UFC event in Boston. It was a big deal. And Conor McGregor was on the card, and it was like such a big deal because of the Irish community coming together and rooting him on. So I like Conor McGregor a lot. I just like his swag. I like his personality. That's and he backs it up. And you know what? You're not going to win everyone. He's taking his lumps, like Nate Diaz. Losing. Like,
but then he came back and beat him as well.
And he came back and beat him. So it's just like he still has a swagger. He's still going to talk his shit, and that's what makes you want to watch those guys, those fighters. I hope because I'm a big fan of wrestling. It's promotions and promoting and all that, and I hope boxing like is somewhat on the come up. But boxing needs another Mike Tyson. Like boxing needs heavyweights. They need true heavyweights. Like
there's
MMA,
Tyson Fury and stuff. So
yeah, but it's just like I don't know. He's like I've seen it.
I find Anthony Joshua boring. He just kind of holds you.
I just want like Mike Tyson's, like you want those like rough and rowdy type of guys. And what I like about MMA is like you don't need big guys. I love Brock Lesnar, and when Brock Lesnar went to MMA, I was like, that guy is going to destroy everybody.
He didn't though. He didn't do very well.
But at the same time, I think if he didn't have the diverticulitis or whatever, I think he would have ended up being that reigning champion for quite a while in MMA. I mean, he went there and proved something. Like he won the championship. Like he and then when he came back, he beat Mark Hunt. Like and I know he was the underdog. Brock was the underdog in that.
Yeah,
and I was
beat him in the first round.
And this is the thing is that I'm not an MMA guy.
Yeah.
And I watch wrestling, and I never make big bets. I put $500 on Brock Lesnar. I won that bet. It was on my birthday too when he fought, because I was like, Brock Lesnar has been in WWE for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And he's just been training on his conditioning because he's been fighting so much, and he looks so good, like lean.
Yeah.
And he looked ready. Like he looked ready to go in the ring and fight. And I was like shocked that he was even like the underdog in that fight. But at least he went back I think it was just a proving ground for him just to go back and say, hey, I still have it, And that's like Conor McGregor, in his way of saying I can make my comeback and prove it. And I'm glad that Conor did the boxing thing. He had no shot of winning. No shot of winning against Floyd, but I'm glad he did that. He made his money. He made his bread. He knew he was probably going to lose, but he kept himself in it. Whether Floyd
12
let
rounds,
him stay in
12 rounds with Floyd Mayweather is pretty good.
It's good enough that they might have had a backdoor deal, and I know, but I'm glad that he at least tried his best. And I wish that Floyd would go into the octagon with McGregor, but Floyd knows.
That was the plan. I was listening to a thing with Conor McGregor, and he said the deal was Conor McGregor fights him in his sport, and Floyd Mayweather fights Conor in his sport.
If I'm Floyd, I ain't doing that. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope, not doing it, because he would lose.
He'd be KO'd in the first round with Jose Aldo.
Yeah, he would just not know what to do. You just pounce right on top of Floyd.
It's a different style of thing.
Yeah, and that's why I give respect to Conor McGregor to at least, and the fans, I think, at least respect him enough to go into boxing and just try it out. He's not a boxer, and it's just he tried doing it, and it's 2 big names in 2 different sports that came together to make a lot of money together. Just like Logan Paul is doing some sort of fight, I guess, with like Floyd Mayweather.
That's just stupid.
Money. It's money.
I'll watch it, but it's just stupid.
I won't watch it because I just don't like Logan Paul. But I just like it's money. Logan Paul built his brand, built his name, and Floyd Mayweather is like it's all marketing. I mean, that's what Floyd Mayweather did with Pacquiao. Like, it's just those fights together. They knew his money, and everyone's making a cut. I mean, if you're going into a fight knowing you're making X amount of $1 million and you're still taking a loss, like, it is what it is. Like, It's not a big deal. And I hope boxing needs another Floyd Mayweather down the line,
Yeah.
and hopefully that happens
I
too.
mean, there's this kid. I don't know if you heard of him, Ryan Garcia.
Yep.
He's very, very good. I'm a big fan of his.
It takes years and years and years to develop that, and you have to build up your record and all
But
that.
he's 20,
Yeah.
It was like 17 knockouts.
Talk to me when you're 30 and 0. It's just like that's when the casuals start coming. I'm like, oh wait, 30 wins, no losses. But I appreciate it, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Hopefully
No
we can
problem.
do this again.
Yes, poke me down the line. Yeah, DM.
All right.
All right, see ya.